Welcome to episode 16 of The Only Playbook. We are recapping Week 8's slate of NFL games. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm Sweetcar, got Shovit. Hey guys, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good, man.
Pretty good, yeah. I mean, a little cold out. A little cold for my liking for Dallas.
Yeah, I'm wearing a sweatshirt.
Yeah, I don't know why. I didn't get the memo this morning because I went in just like a half-sleeve T-shirt. It was freezing. It was raining all day.
It's so awkward. Like, do you turn your heater on? Do you not turn your heater on? I just did it. I can't stand the cold.
Yeah, F the cold, man. We live in Dallas-Fort Worth for a reason, man.
Right?
We don't want the cold. Appreciate you guys tuning in. A wild weekend of games. Some lopsided matchups, some sloppy-ass games. But nonetheless, a lot of things to talk about. First things first, social media. Always appreciative of everything you guys have supported us through Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the podcast apps, Spotify, YouTube, Apple, Google, Anchor FM. Continue to support us. Let us know if there's anything else that we can be doing that would make our show more enjoyable for you. So certainly appreciate all that. Jumping right into the important stuff. Again, episode is all about this because it's so important. We're at the meat of this season, and just more studs are dropping like flies. So talk to us a little bit about what's happening on the injury train.
Yeah, I mean, all those strong fantasy teams,
that drafted well.
Yeah, that drafted well. This is the nature of the game. Like, this is just what happens. That's why you can't get too hyped up too early. You got to stack up on running backs as much as you can. Never draft defenses and never draft kickers or too early. I mean, these are the main reasons. All those guys that you could potentially get at the late parts of your season could end up winning the season for you. So first things first, Derrick Henry is probably not going to be back this year, at least for fantasy times. He could be back for the playoffs, which doesn't matter to us for fantasy purposes. So, yeah, he has a Jones fracture, which is a broken metatarsal in his foot. It's like the long part of the foot. He broke a bone. So
is it named after somebody named Jones?
Yeah, it's definitely named after somebody named Jones.
Interesting.
What's funny is, like, I thought Julio Jones had a Jones fracture one time, but I don't think so. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a very common fracture for like sprinters and like people that have a lot of power when they run. And obviously, Derrick Henry, all he does is put force on that foot, and it gave out. So he's human after all.
Sir Robert Jones.
There you go.
Yeah, he's the first orthopedic surgeon to discover and report and treat the injury.
Does he have a mustache?
That's a great question.
Sir Robert Jones, if he doesn't have a mustache.
Oh my God. If he has a monocle, that's even more points.
Monocle and mustache?
He definitely has a mustache.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured. But so it's pretty crazy for him to have sustained that injury and then come back and run on it?
Yeah, he ran on it. I don't know how he did it, but he did it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like all those carries that they were giving him at the beginning of the year. Like, this guy's not human. He can withstand all that, and turns out, anyone gets injured. Yeah.
Dude, I can barely flip more pages after getting a paper cut, and this dude broke a foot in his bone, and he's still running the ball.
That's pretty wild. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to talk later about who you should pick up and all that good stuff. But if you have McNichols, you're sitting pretty. And if you have a high waiver pick and you have McNichols, then you're sitting even prettier. But yeah, Sam Darnold needs to be mentioned just because he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. No other reason he should be mentioned because he should not be starting him. He still needs to pass the concussion protocol. He still hasn't passed it completely, so he might still play. He probably will pass by the time they start playing on their Sunday night game or Sunday game. James Robinson, another starting running back. He hurt his heel. They say ankle. They say bruised heel bone. It's all just that region. So Carlos Hyde is the next man up on that list, and they already were loving Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, they were already using him too much anyway.
Yeah, early on. So I don't know what you're going to get out of this, but any starting running back is a valuable asset. So even if you have waiver number 1, waiver number 2, at this point you're probably going to, it's like Adrian Peterson's probably going to go 1, and McNichols could go 1 as well, depending on what we hear by the time it's like midnight tonight.
And what type of league you're in.
But number 3 should be Carlos Hyde. Mm-hmm. He could also be number 1. Depends on your strategy. Hopkins, he had that hamstring injury. They were questioning. He's always had this injury. It sucks to see like really good players not get to play because of these stupid hamstring injuries. But looks like he was too he tried to bite off more than he could chew by coming back into the game, and he quickly left. They used him as a decoy for a few plays. But this is a significant injury, so you might need to keep note of this to see if he'll play this week. He should. But as you guys know now, hamstring injuries are one of the worst for professional sprinters, which is what wide receivers and running backs basically are. So, we're going to have to see how long. But he does get extra time to recover because that was a Thursday night game. So he does have a little bit extra time. So we'll see what happens. Gronk came. Gronk left. Gronk has a back spasm issue, which is just the muscles in the back, like misalignment. And I'm sure since he was favoring the muscles around the ribs, he probably had like a lot of forward flexion, and then the back tightened up, and it just he's got this front back issue. So I don't know what's gonna happen to him, but he should be good to go because spasms, you just give him some muscle relaxers, he should be fine.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, go ahead.
The way you said that just reminded me of the Hulk. Like Hulk smash. You're like, Gronk in, Gronk out.
Yeah, that's funny. That's basically what I think of when I talk about Gronk, too. It's like short sentences.
Gronk smash.
Gronk score.
Gronk catch touchdown.
Gronk sad. Gronk drop. Gronk come back. But yeah, anyways, he should be good to go this upcoming week. But if you have other players available, like what's his name? Logan Thomas coming back. So if you have players like that you could pick up or that are already on your team, Schultz, if you have players like that, then you're not going to – it's too risky to start Gronk at this point. So you got to get some more consistency before you can deploy him. And Dak Prescott, he should be back against the Broncos. I wish he was playing against the Vikings because we would have probably thrown a lot more. But anyways, we'll get to that segment. Dak should be back against the Broncos. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be. Miles Sanders was on the IR. So Boston Scott and Jordan Howard are the ones leading that running back front, with Gainwell being the pass down option. The last game was really it's a huge fluke. It's like the worst running team had like the best running day. Yeah. So we'll talk more about that once we get closer to those games. But for now, that's the injury update for Tuesday. As you guys know, we've been mentioning this every single week. You don't rely on the Tuesday report to make your decisions for Sunday. So stay tuned on our Twitter. We're going to be updating you very frequently.
Yep, absolutely. Again, every week more stars are going down. Sucks as an NFL fan, like Hopkins, Henry. Henry literally was inhuman. Right. And, this kind of shows that he is human.
He's never even questionable.
Yeah.
Like, he hasn't been questionable since the last time I watched Derrick Henry play. He's never questionable.
Name me a guy in the league that probably gets hit more than Derrick Henry.
Yeah, probably not Tom Brady, that's for sure.
Yeah, nobody. I mean, he's got the most yards per carry or yards after contact, so he's getting hit all the time. Yeah. That sucks. That sucks. The Texans have been really, really good and a nice surprise, so we'll talk more about that. But let's jump into the slate of games. When we were recording our last episode, Thursday Night Football was going on. While we were recording, the Cardinals were winning that game. It was like 7-0. And final score, the Packers are visiting Arizona, and the Packers come away victorious 24-21 in a close one, covering the 6-point spread. They were 6-point dogs in this game, and the under hit at 50.5. 6-point dogs, obviously, because the storyline was all of these receivers are out, COVID. Lazard's out. Adams is out. Valdez-Scantling wasn't activated off the IR. Randall Cobb is 50 years old. And so they just had, and then they had Aaron Rodgers, other Rodgers guy to throw to. So before the game started, we were like, okay, thin at the receiving core. You're traveling to Arizona. Arizona's undefeated. I think, Shovit, you'd actually said you still liked the Packers to come away victorious. What did you see and how did they do it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game plan, right? Running the ball, total yards was around like 140 yards for rushing for Dillon and Jones combined, and then Aaron Rodgers just getting it done with his, one of his favorite targets, Randall Cobb, throwing to him. I think he had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he had 3 catches, 15 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns. So I mean, it was just a great game plan to be able to do well offensively and then stop the Cardinals, not allowing any touchdowns on Kyler Murray. So just an all-around good performance. Cardinals almost had a chance to come back, right?
Yeah.
And miscue with AJ Green just not turning around, trying to catch the ball there. And so,
you gotta wonder if Hopkins is in that. Is there miscommunication?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, they've obviously played together longer, right? So,
I think he thought it was a running play. I think AJ Green thought it was a running play.
Yeah, I think so too, because he immediately went to block almost, right? So either it was like a designed QB draw or something for Kyler, or it was like an option for Kyler, and AJ Green assumed the option was run. Kyler obviously just went throw.
Yeah.
But credit to the Packers defense, right? I mean, you're holding a guy like Kyler Murray, no touchdowns,
Right.
2 interceptions. He was sacked twice.
Yeah.
They forced a turnover. They forced a fumble as well, and the Packers played mistake-free, no turnovers. And so when you're that decimated on the offensive side, you have to protect the football. There's no better person to have than Aaron Rodgers in a situation like that. And again, at the time, in timely situations, in the red zone, inside the 5, you're like, okay, how are they going to get it done? And you still have trusty Randall Cobb who can get those slant routes and slightly beat the guy, and Rodgers puts it on point. So big win for Green Bay. I mean, this was a huge win.
They literally put the defense on the map.
Yeah.
I've been picking up their defense and starting them in fantasy here and there because they don't allow very many points.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was like 3 games out of the 7 games that they even allowed more than 20 points. So they've been very stout on defense, and this was the perfect game to showcase that on what's it called, primetime TV.
Yep.
And now I think they've been on the map. They're officially on the map. And a lot of these NFL.com, ESPN.com, they've now put the Packers as the number 1 team on power rankings across the board. Everybody's like, okay, if you can consistently shut down teams and you do all this scoring without your top wide receivers, adjusting to the game plan to every single team, how can you not consider them the best team in the league?
Go ahead.
I think it's they have one of the best records, right? Like 7-1. I mean,
They're tied for the best record.
right?
And they're 4-1 on the road.
With the Cardinals. So maybe the Buffalo Bills are still there. But yeah,
We've seen some signs of shakiness from the Bills, though.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, he's had some bad games.
Yeah.
They've just gotten kind of like, people have saved him.
They can get away with it. He's been able to get away with it.
Right. It must be nice to be able to play mediocre quarterback and get away with stuff.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, and Packers, the NFL has thrown all kinds of different scenarios, and they just overcome all of these things. And I hate to say this because I hate the Packers, but I would think that if you can adapt to different conditions and different situations and still win games, you have to be, in my eyes, you're the best team in the league.
Yeah, and I don't like, another thing is the Cardinals only had 74 yards rushing, and you just assume a team with Kyler Murray is just going to run all over you. And I mean, holding a team to 74 yards rushing is that's really, really good. And I was talking to my buddy Jared like 3-4 weeks ago, and he was talking about whenever they signed Jalen Smith, how much they needed him because their linebacking core was like piss poor. But clearly they figured it out. They've either schemed to work around the inabilities of their linebackers, or their linebackers are finally playing well. And so, it's coming together for them. They're scary. They've always been scary. Every time you have Rodgers, you're scary. But Rodgers really has a stout defense. And so if this defense is as advertised, I mean, shit, bro. Like all of a sudden you have a new team that's atop the NFC, maybe atop the NFL. So. They are going to be at the Chiefs next week. I know the Chiefs have their ups and downs, but that's still going to be a great game, obviously. And the Cardinals have a tough test. They're at the 49ers. So whatever you think about the 49ers, divisional game, they're weird. Right. They'll always play you tough. So both teams are now 7-1, sitting atop the NFC. So good on both of those guys. But the Panthers are the next game on the board. They traveled to the Falcons. Panthers were fake news. We were really, really pulling or thinking that the Falcons should be able to come away with a victory at home. But the Panthers actually sneak away with this one. 19-13 final, cover the 3-point spread as underdogs, and the under hits at 46.5. Biggest storyline here, I think, was pregame Calvin Ridley coming out and saying he's stepping away from football to focus on his mental health. No idea on the timetable for something like that, right?
Yeah, he might just not be playing again.
He could literally never play again. He could be back as quickly as next week, but regardless, the Falcons still have some weapons on offense. The Panthers' defense was showing signs of being incredibly shaky, but the biggest thing is, you get Stephon Gilmore's back. He has that big interception to seal the deal. Yeah, so that trade paying off.
I think that was the main factor here from the score not being flipped.
Yeah, I think he was big, and the Falcons just couldn't stop the run.
They couldn't stop the run.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing. I mean,
what's funny is that was their strength.
Yeah, that was the only strength.
Yeah, that was their only strength, and now it's not. So.
Yeah, the rushing yards, right? 203 rushing yards, total rushing yards for Carolina in the game.
And no, CMC didn't play.
Right.
No.
So Chuba and Sam Darnold and company getting all those yardage. For me, I look at the Falcons, I'm like, they're just a team that if they execute, they could definitely win a lot of games. But when they don't execute, as with any team, they're just not going to win. And missed field goals, interceptions by Matt Ryan, things like that, just gave the Panthers an opportunity to close this game out and win. So it's just not going to work out with a team like that.
Yeah, and the one bright spot on the Falcons continues to be Cordero Patterson, and I'm still arguing that they are still underutilizing him. Like, he's the only, I mean, outside of Pitts, sure, right? He's the one guy that we talk about as a unicorn that you can run the ball with, you can throw the ball to, but him and Mike Davis at this point should not both be getting 9 carries.
No, I mean, Mike Davis did have a better day running the ball.
Sure.
But it's all about establishing like a certain role, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's always hard to share the ball and read defenses because when you alternate, you can't figure out that pattern for the next play.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have one guy like Cordero Patterson getting 18 instead of Mike Davis getting 9 of those, I'm pretty sure Cordero Patterson would have broke one of those free or found some sort of pattern because that's what it's all about. It's all about consistency.
Yep.
That's why these running backs complain about these committees.
Yep.
Yes, they stay healthy, but as soon as they figure out like a tendency that a linebacker does,
exactly,
it gets switched because the next guy comes and he's a different running back, and it's like it just throws things off.
You have to understand that all these players, as much as we say quarterbacks need to get in the rhythm and the flow of the game, so do running backs.
Yeah.
You can't give them
every position.
Right. You can't give them mediocre amount of carries and expect them to be productive. Like that doesn't usually always happen, and it doesn't happen consistently. So Patterson catches their only receiving touchdown as well. I mean, only 5 targets, but 5 catches, 37 yards. I think if the Panthers want any shot, or I'm sorry, if the Falcons want any shot at winning future games, he has to be the focal point.
Yeah. If not the focal point, he needs to be a huge percentage. Yeah. You can't just forget about him. Like that is the reason you've gotten this far. What are you doing not utilizing that more?
Yep. And then Kyle Pitts obviously comes off that crazy week and starting to build momentum. Only 2 catches on 13 yards.
Yeah.
6
I mean,
targets.
Carolina's defense has been known to put pressure on quarterbacks, and we know Atlanta's offensive line is very, very subpar. That was a huge result for why Matt Ryan threw 2 picks, only had 146 yards.
Yep.
So, yeah, Carolina is fake news. Don't get me wrong. They're still fake news. But they had the benefit of playing against a team that was, just very weak on the offensive line side, and that's how they dominated.
Yeah, and I think their defense is still legit because Stephon Gilmore's back and Shaq Thompson was back, and he had 10 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass defense. So he was all over the field. He was all over the field, and you could see it. And obviously, Stephon Gilmore had that game-sealing interception. So the Panthers now come away with this. They're at 500, and they're in the playoffs again. They're the 7th seed right now in the playoffs in the NFC. NFC is so top-heavy, so that last 6-7 spot seems like it's going to be in play for pretty much the rest of the league.
Here, check this out, this one stat out. So the Panthers had 203 rushing yards total. Their most in a game since Week 5 of 2019.
That was all CMC?
That was probably all CMC. But, I mean, I don't know if it was the opportunity they got of facing a weak team, but looks like they finally figured out a way to run the ball collectively without CMC.
Yeah, and that's important. I mean, again, volume's important. Chubb at 24 carries, not the most efficient, but again, you need the carries. You have to get the carries. You can't expect him to get 100 yards on 14 carries. He's not Jonathan Taylor, so that's not going to happen. But nonetheless, again, the NFC, the bottom part is wide open. I would argue that even the Falcons are still alive in that. There's a long season left to be played. Panthers have a tough one versus the Pats next week, and the Falcons are going to be at the Saints. So another divisional matchup there.
Yep.
That kicks us off to the other divisional matchup we saw this week. The Dolphins traveled to Buffalo. Not an easy place to go to, and clearly the score at the end was indicative of that, although it was close for throughout the game.
Yeah.
Bills pull away, actually cover the spread 26-11. They cover 14-point spread by winning by 15, so efficiently get that done. And the under 48.5 hits. What did you see from that one, Shovit?
Yeah, so, I mean, it was 3-3.
At
during the
half,
half, right? And you're like, well, okay, well, Dolphins are doing something, but then you realize that you're playing against Josh Allen and Diggs, who had a touchdown in the second half. So Bills definitely looked like a different team. The thing here is like pointing back to Tua. Like, is Tua the answer or is he not the answer? He's not. He isn't the answer, and like. It's both, right? It's not like he's the answer. It's not that he's not the answer as well.
Yeah,
it's kind of confusing. But regardless,
weirdly enough, I kind of get what you mean because when I watch Tua, like the games that Tua plays, I feel like Gaskin has more opportunities. Waddle gets involved. Gesicki gets involved, right? And I always feel like their overall stats look better in games that Tua plays versus when Brissett plays.
Yeah, the comparison, I mean, it's Brissett.
Yeah.
You know, like if it was like Sam Darnold in this situation, would it really be that big of a difference?
Probably not.
But I mean, maybe Tua's not like, you know, there's a reason why he excelled so much throughout his career, not the NFL career, but just his, you know, he knows how to play quarterback. It just might take a little bit more time adjusting when you have literally one of the worst offenses in the league. Like if you were to take Tua, put him into a different team that needs a quarterback really badly, like let's say the Steelers, you know, he could potentially be an argument for one of the best quarterbacks when you have it matters who's around you, and it matters what if people want to pry into your strengths versus you having to just make a do of a team. And right now he's having to make do. And even though it was competitive, it's just not enough to beat a team like the Bills.
No, talent-wise, there's just too big of a gap. And even when it was 3-3 at half, it was almost like, to me, it's not what the Dolphins have done, but it's more so what the Bills have like not done or left on the field.
Yeah.
So it felt like that the whole game. I mean, obviously you mentioned the second half, fourth quarter, they put up 16 points. The Bills put up 16 points in the fourth quarter, and Allen gets his 2 touchdown passes. He runs another one in. Cole Beasley, 10 catches, 110 yards on 13 targets. Stephon Diggs gets that late touchdown. Otherwise, his fantasy day would have been mediocre as well. And then the other thing, Emmanuel Sanders, after jumping onto the scene and just being ridiculously consistent and like way above average, like really, really good, 0 catches, 0 yards on 4 targets. Yeah. And that's the thing with Buffalo. We talked about it. They still won this game and covered a 14-point spread, and Emmanuel Sanders had no catches.
Yeah, it's going to be Cole Beasley versus Emmanuel Sanders for that second spot.
Yep.
And what's funny is that second spot is technically their first spot.
Yep.
Because Stephon Diggs has solidified this role. He's going to get his, but it's not going to be number one.
No.
It's not going to be like the 15-target Stephon Diggs. It might happen a couple times, but there's a trend here. There's a clear-cut trend here.
Agreed.
It's either Cole Beasley getting 10 receptions or Emmanuel Sanders getting 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
Like, they like to use that as like the force-feeding option, and Stephon Diggs does the solidifying the third downs and, you know, possible just play action deep bombs.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's going to be any given Sunday, and I'm going to have to find a way to figure out when Beasley's going to be the guy and when Sanders is going to be the guy.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But again, every different which way, the Bills get the job done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. On the other side of things, though, the Dolphins, Devontae Parker, 8 receptions, 85 yards on 11 targets. You got to like what you're seeing there with Tua as a quarterback. Also, Jalen Waddle.
He got 12 targets.
12 targets.
But he caught the ball 4 times.
Yeah.
For 29 yards.
Yeah. You got to dig into the numbers to see how many of those were actually catchable balls.
Yeah.
I mean, it is Buffalo defense. Like, it was a tough matchup before the game even started.
Yeah.
I didn't expect anything more, honestly. I'm actually surprised Devontae Parker did as well as he did with all the injuries he always has. So that he might be a good option, good flex option moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, again, run game, they tried. Nothing really. Gaskin averaging 3 yards a carry, 12 for 36. But, yeah, Miami is just not talented enough right now.
Yeah.
Like, not only are they not talented enough, they just – I don't know that they're putting a product on the field that can win, that can even be competitive. And this year it seems like there's like 3 or 4 teams that you're just like, they're not competitive enough. Like you can't even put them on the field against an opposing team because they're going to lose. And so it's tough. It's tough for them. Hopefully, again, these reps become important and help Tua in his progression to become better, right? I want to see him get better. It doesn't matter how bad they are, like how shitty they're playing as a team, but consistent NFL reps, like there's something to be said about that. So I'm really, really just hopeful that this is helping Tua's learning curve, and maybe this is the worst it gets for him, right? Because the team is so bad. So something to maybe kind of hang your head high on for the Dolphins. They're going to be playing the Texans next week. So that's 2 teams that we mentioned can't put a product on the field to win games, but they're equal in talent level, or lack thereof. So that could be, I mean, I don't know. Are they one team going to try to actually lose that game?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like you play to lose just so you get the draft pick.
But I don't know. It's the NFL. Again, there's still a long season to go. So good opportunity for both of those teams to pick up another win. The Bills are going to be at the Jags. Unless we see something crazy, Buffalo should have an easy week next week. Another game on the board, the 49ers, the interesting, mysterious, confusing 49ers. The confusing 49ers are at Chicago, and they win 33-22. A lot more scoring than Vegas thought. The over was 39.5. It got crushed. San Francisco covers the 4-point spread. San Francisco is now 3-4. Chicago drops to 3-5. But this was another spot where we were like, San Francisco just, like what is that team? Can the Bears find a way at home to get the job done? And they don't.
No, they don't. And, the 49ers with Eli Mitchell, 18 carries, 137 yards, 1 touchdown. Man, like that's a great
efficiency,
number.
man.
Yeah. So they looked good. On the other side of things, I kind of liked what I saw from Justin Fields. There was that one play where you think that he's gonna
is it the 4th down run you're talking about?
Fourth down run where he scores a touchdown.
Yeah, that's one of the best plays I've seen all year.
Yeah, he looked like Menzel.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like what you see in A&M. So really cool to see him kind of being a little bit more comfortable with like everything that's coming out of him, out to him, and then being able to kind of maneuver away from that. So, but at the end of the day, the San Francisco 49ers defense pull through when they need to, and then they stop.
Yeah, what's funny is the Bears were winning at halftime. The Bears were, I think it was 13-9.
Yep.
And then in the fourth quarter, San Francisco scored 18 points.
Yep.
So they were hanging on there with their running game. The running game was solid. Fields had 10 carries for 103 yards and a touchdown. Herbert had 23 carries for 72 yards. They're establishing the run, whether it's working or not. They're like, let's run this ball to throw the ball, which I hate, but I mean that's what they like to do.
Yeah.
On the other side, the difference was Garoppolo actually had a good chunk of yards per throw, versus Justin Fields. He got 19 completions for 175 yards and a touchdown and a pick. Garoppolo had 17 completions, 2 less, for 322 yards. So they were running the ball to establish the pass, and the Bears were. What's it called? The opposite. Sorry. Garoppolo was throwing the ball
to establish the run.
And the Bears were running the ball to establish the pass, and that ended up killing them at the end because once you have this momentum of running the ball, and all of a sudden in the fourth quarter you have to come from behind
and throw,
and Fields is not built for that. And as soon as the fourth quarter started, I was like, all right, it's over. The Bears lost this game.
Freaking Deebo Samuel, man, 83-yard catch, 6 for 171. I mean, is there a game where Deebo doesn't have an 80-plus yard catch? Why does that feel like that's happening too often?
It happens quite often, huh? It does happen.
Like very often.
Yeah.
I mean, if you run the ball well, you do some play action, throw it deep to Deebo Samuel, like it's got to be a little bit easier when you have that option.
Then you would think every team has a number one that they should be able to get 80-plus yard catches. Like that 80-plus yard catches isn't every week, but it seems like Deebo.
They can't play him man on man because he's a running back playing wide receiver, right? And he has the speed of a wide receiver, he has the body of a running back. You can't man up on players like that. You have to give them space because if you play physical, you're going to lose. These are cornerbacks we're talking, like little weaklings. The weakest people on the field are cornerbacks, and you put them up against like a speedy running back playing wide receiver that has hands like a wide receiver. You're going to have to play off of him, and he takes advantage of that all the time with those double moves.
Yep.
He moves them inside, goes outside, and then catches that 80-yard bomb.
Yep. And a lot of the thing that's impressive with Deebo, a lot of his big bombs aren't bombs. They're like Deebo caught it 13 yards, and then he ran it for 65.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus, bro. Like, he's absolutely crushing it. Elijah Mitchell continues to be productive. Is Elijah Mitchell just incapable of catching, or do they just really like having a different guy come in for third downs? Because I have not seen Elijah Mitchell on a third down probably, I don't know, the entire year maybe. And he does nothing but be productive on the ground, and they don't ever even attempt to throw him the ball.
Yeah, they don't. They really don't. I don't know why they do that. I mean, it's hard to argue against one of the best coaches.
Yeah, you're right. That you can put like a guy off the street in their running back scheme and he runs for 100 yards.
Like Jermichael Hasty, right? He's a bruiser too, but they wanted to throw to him.
Yeah.
He ended up getting 2 receptions for 29 yards, and they still like Juszczyk.
Yeah. They love throwing that.
I think
there's another team that likes throwing to their fullback more.
Yeah,
but we'll talk about that later.
Okay, yeah. I'm about to have a heart attack just thinking about all these scenarios. But yeah, so I mean, the 49ers knows what it takes to win the game. Like, Kyle Shanahan's a genius.
Yeah.
So they beat these teams like
they beat the teams they're supposed to beat.
Yeah. And then when it's time to play, they end up going on the other end of things. Who do they play next week?
They are actually going to be playing the Cardinals. So that's a big game.
Okay, cool.
Let's see if they're for real. I mean, again, 3-4 right now, still very much alive in the playoff contention. And even though the Bears are 3-5, they're going to be at Pittsburgh next week, so I expect Pittsburgh to take care of business there. I mean, Fields.
Yeah, I think so, but we'll see. We'll see.
But yeah, so nonetheless, 49ers, Cardinals, that'll be interesting. And the bottom half of the NFC is so wide open. So the Bears are still alive, even though on paper it doesn't seem like they are. One thing I am drooling about is Khalil Herbert continues to get 20-plus carries, 23 carries, even though it was only 72 yards. God, if when David Montgomery comes back, please just give him all those. Like I want all. Yeah. I haven't sniffed a running back in any of my fantasies that's getting 20-plus carries this year.
Damn.
CMC got hurt. Jacobs gets like 14. And then I got a bunch of scrubs. Like Williams and like just a bunch of fucking.
Williams is pretty good. I'd take. You want to trade Williams for Chuba Hubbard?
I mean, I almost need both of them because I need both to start. But it's just frustrating, man. It's just so frustrating. But I don't know. Anyways, next game on the board, your Steelers shove it. Big game at Cleveland at the Dog Pound, and a bruiser, low scoring. Just kind of a AFC affair, and the Steelers come away 15-10. Steelers are now 4-3, baby. They are almost halfway through that over 8.5 win season.
I know. I took that bet, so I'm hoping that comes up.
Yeah, I hope. I know it's coming in. And the Browns are now 4-4. Kind of trending in the wrong way. Steelers cover the 3.5 point spread. The under hits at 42.5. Talk to us about your Steelers.
Oh man, that was a big game. It was a dirty game.
Yeah,
right.
It was it just felt like Steelers Browns. Yeah, I don't know.
It did. And then we lost our kicker,
dude,
which is crazy because we try to do a fake kick. He rolls to the right and he gets just decked, right? And that's it. We're no kicker for the rest of the game. No field goals, no extra point, and Presley Harvin is having to kick the ball.
Yeah,
and
not Percy Harvin, Presley
Harvin. I don't
the second or third.
Third, I think. And I don't know if you guys saw that kickoff, but he kicked
straight out of bounds.
Straight out. Yeah,
his first kickoff after Boswell got hurt, straight out of bounds.
Yeah. So, but we didn't score after that, so there was no other kickoff, which is great. But yeah, no, it was one of those games where like the defense stepped up when it needed to.
Yep.
And then mistakes on the Browns side with Landry fumbling the ball there, and then the quarterback
Baker,
right? Baker not being able to be accurate. He threw to OBJ, wasn't accurate.
My God.
Threw to Landry, not accurate. So
one thing I noticed in this game, okay, so Baker Mayfield lost this game. In my opinion, Baker Mayfield lost this game. So the Browns scored 10 points on 5 drives that they took to Steelers territory. You're 10 yards from a field goal at that point.
Right.
And you're telling me as an NFL quarterback, you had 5 drives that you were basically almost at or in field goal range.
Contention for points.
And they scored 10 points on 5 of those drives, including no points the last 2 drives. What are you doing, Baker Mayfield?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I don't know. I mean, he's trying to play through this torn labrum for the rest of the year, right?
I know. See, if it was on the right side, I would have so much sympathy for him. But the fact that it's on the left side, it's like I play with pain all the time. Like I get it. It's annoying, but it's like you're on the field. Maybe you shouldn't be on the field then.
Yeah. I think he shouldn't be on the field because, like, if you have a torn, like, I mean, again, I'm no medical expert, right? And my threshold for pain probably versus the average person might be a little bit low. But he got hit so many times where he fell straight on that side, and I'm like, dude, that cannot feel fucking good. And then he's got to, like, yes, he's not throwing this way, but when you have fucking immense pain here, like, how are you concentrating playing?
The thing is, there is no immense pain there. He's probably doped up out of his head. Like, it's just numb at that point, so he doesn't even feel it. Is what I'm assuming because the time frame doesn't add up.
Yeah,
like he should not be out there.
Yeah,
like if he wasn't an athlete, if it was an average person coming to the hospital to be like, when can I go back? You're not going back for a long time, buddy. You're gonna be at home.
He just wants to be on that playing field and just prove himself and be out there. But it's becoming detrimental.
It is.
I mean, I'd argue that Case Keenum's a better option right now than a hurt Baker Mayfield.
I would say that too.
You got sacked 4 times. Pittsburgh's defense stepped up, but 11 incompletions. Inaccuracy has been Baker's thing. Right? And so when he has such a good offensive line, he gets time, and most quarterbacks would kill for time because you're a quarterback in the NFL, which means like the one thing you're supposed to be good at is being accurate when given time.
Right.
And Baker still isn't accurate enough. And it's just like, I appreciate his moxie and his like that demeanor that Baker has because it's respectable.
But you're hurting the team.
But a lot of times when you have that moxie, you back it up with your play, and it just seems like Baker's too inconsistent. And he's a detriment to his team at this point. So I don't know. The Browns are trending in the wrong direction. I mean, they had a ton of I guess, preseason hype and their defense and everything. And they came out, 4-1 or something. They were playing really, really well. And
they
now
were like Super Bowl contenders, right? At the beginning of the season, even the first 4 weeks. And you're like, oh, this team actually looks good. They got a solid running game. They've got OBJ and Landry for that deep threat.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks to them. They have had a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
They've been having to adjust here and there on offense. But I think next week we'll see for real, because OBJ's pretty much back to whatever health he can possibly be back to.
Yeah.
If Baker's willing to play through this pain, Chubb is back. You don't necessarily need Hunt. Hunt is nice. He's a good asset.
Dearness Johnson's plenty capable.
Yeah. So if they can't win now, then they're not going to go anywhere this season.
And to add on to the Baker inaccuracy, OBJ's dad.
Yeah.
Taking it to social media and pointing out specific videos and clips of the game where OBJ is open.
And he added a soundtrack behind it. You know how much emphasis things have when you put a soundtrack behind it?
Right.
Like
he took the time to fucking edit that shit, bro.
He's like, I'm gonna show you with sound how bad Baker Mayfield is.
That's all great, but OBJ also has drop passes.
OBJ sucks.
Plenty, bro. Plenty of passes. Like easy catches.
This wasn't where like, OBJ's not getting targets. It's like Baker Mayfield sucks.
Yeah.
That's what this showed me.
Yeah.
But OBJ,
but OBJ hasn't even done enough to warrant getting the ball, demanding the ball, having his dad come out and talk shit. Like, get out of here, OBJ. No, honestly.
It's a little. These family members.
Oh
man.
my God.
Maybe Aaron Rodgers was onto something.
Yeah, honestly, bro. I feel for Patrick Mahomes, man. He's got the most fucking annoying family on social media possible.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, Steelers take care of business on the road. Big win in the division.
Yeah.
Division's back to being wide open.
Yeah, in terms of fantasy goes, Deontay Johnson looking really good. Najee Harris, of course. And then, none other than the tight end for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Freiermuth. Man.
Nice. You got your touchdown.
Got my touchdown.
8 weeks.
Well, he had a touchdown. I think week 4, but an actual touchdown.
That was a good catch.
Yeah, it was a sick catch to put them on top 15-10. That's what I want to see more of. So that was great. That was finally getting his.
Hey, and then one thing I want to point out. Last week on the episode, do you guys remember I said that there's one offensive play that if teams run to perfection is impossible to stop?
What, the drag route?
No, the RPO.
RPO.
Oh. How did the Steelers complete that pass to Deontay Johnson for 50 yards?
RPO?
Yeah. Literally put Big Ben in the best scenario possible because you have a Najee Harris now who is unstoppable. You're milking the clock because you're up 5 and you have the ball late, right? Everybody thinks you're running. What do? RPO slant to Deontay, 50 yards, baby.
You're right. It was 2 yards, 2-yard play, right?
Yeah.
And 4th and 2.
Yep.
There, you think the ball's going to go to Najee Harris because the Steelers have been inconsistent in the red zone as far as that's concerned. Mm-hmm. Throw it to the touchdown, the greatest tight end, not the greatest tight end, but a guy who has not dropped any touchdowns in his college career.
Yep.
Guy can catch the ball. Give it to him.
Yep.
But I also want to see them use Claypool more too.
I've been asking for that for a while. I mean, the shitty part is they're winning games now. So it's like if you're losing and he's also not being utilized, you're like, what are you doing? But if they're finding a formula that works to win, I don't know. Maybe he's just going to be the odd man out.
That's what it looks like so far. I mean, if I was a betting man, I'm not putting much stock into Claypool at this point because you just don't know. He's had his opportunities. You've had Juju out. You've had Deontay not play a couple games. Like why isn't Claypool getting 10
Is
targets?
he just not getting open?
No, I mean it's a one-on-one situation. It could go to Deontay Johnson or it could go to Claypool. The play I'm talking about, it went to Freiermuth, so he got the catch. But there were many instances where it was in the red zone where we went towards Deontay Johnson, which he's a good receiver, but Claypool's 6'4".
It's got to be separation at this point.
I was literally going to say, think about this. Deontay probably runs one of the best routes in the league, right? So if Big Ben is 3-step dropping, who is he going to trust that's going to have a higher chance to be open on his first read immediately?
Yeah,
it's Deontay
the
Johnson.
13 targets to Deontay Johnson explain everything
exactly.
themselves.
His first look will always be Deontay because he trusts Deontay to get enough separation, which sucks for Claypool. I want him to play, but it is what it is, man. What are you going to do? They're winning the game. Again, Najee, 26 carries, 91 yards, a touchdown. Dude's a beast. 3 catches, 29 yards. The Steelers are going to be facing the Bears next week, so another winnable game. Browns have it tough. They're going to be at the Bengals. So I don't know. Are they heading in the wrong direction? We'll see. The Eagles were at Detroit. The game, everybody and their mom were saying the Lions are going to pick up their first victory. This is going to be it. And the Lions proved that they are the Detroit Lions because they play to their level of competition, right? So the Eagles came in here at 2-5, the Lions were 0-7, and the Eagles just put on a running clinic, 44-6 final. They covered the 3.5-point spread. The over was 48, total score 50. The Eagles absolutely ran, and then also ran again.
It's too much running. Way too much running. As a Jalen Hurts owner, he went 9 for 14 for 103 yards. That sounds like a great first quarter. But that was the end of the game.
You know what that reminds me of? That quarterback stat line, and then you look at the score. This is like a college football game.
Yeah.
Like they ran 46 times for 236 yards.
Absolutely. Eagles have never done this before. In 40 years, they have never had a stat line like this before. So, I mean, they did something that nobody expected them to do, and that's what resulted in a W.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the Lions game planned with just stopping Hurts, not letting him escape.
Yep.
He found ways to escape. He still was a leading rusher on the team with only 7 carries for 71 yards. That's an average of 10 yards a carry. So they couldn't stop that, and that along with every single running back they have had a similar amount of carries.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're game planning for 4 running backs, right? Boston Scott, 12 carries, 60 yards. Jordan Howard, 12 carries, 57 yards. Kenneth Gainwell, 13 carries, 27 yards.
Fucking awful.
And just like there was too much running.
Yep.
And you're right. It was just like college football. So much running, not prepared for this type of running, and you're not prepared for Jordan Howard.
Yeah.
So, and they just exploited every hole they could find, just kept getting first downs. I don't even know what the receiver stat line was. Dallas Goedert had 72 yards receiving. The next closest wide receiver had 18 yards reception.
Dallas Goedert caught 6 of Hurts' 9 total completions.
Right.
He had 72 of Hurts' 103 total yards. So, I mean, and here's the thing. How do you expect the Lions to have known this?
Yeah.
We've literally talked all fucking year about Miles Sanders and him getting 2-3 carries a fucking game.
Oh my God.
And then he gets hurt. The guy who's been his backup all season, you're like, oh, Kenneth Gainwell time. Like, he's showing flashes. The guy doesn't sniff a carry till the second quarter because Boston Scott and then practice squad journeyman Jordan Howard comes in here. Both of them have 2 touchdowns each, right? Jalen Hurts doesn't get a touchdown. You're like, what the fuck? And then Kenneth Gainwell, his 13 carries, I'm pretty sure all came after they were already up like 35 points, and it was useless. And so, like, how did none of us expected that, so I don't even know how the Lions were prepared for, hey, a team that runs with their star running back 3-4 times a game is going to come in here and shove it up our ass 46 times when their star running back is hurt.
Yeah, no, I was one of those guys that had the Lions potentially, like, this could be the game that they win, and they just had no answer for that running game. And also, Lions made a lot of mistakes as well, right? They had they had nine penalties throughout the game.
Goff was sacked 5 times.
That's how to lose a game. That right there, penalties and sacks.
How to lose a game in 60 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So Lions just had no answer, and it just sucks. I don't know if they'll get a win for the rest of the year.
No, and the one only bright spot on the Lions from a fantasy perspective was the guy I was playing against. Hawkinson, 10 catches on 89 yards, 11 targets. The dude was getting open every play, by the way.
Yeah, he was.
He's really, really good. He's really, really good. But I don't know, man. The Lions, I actually did this whole looking at the Lions' schedule.
Yeah.
And the only winnable game I see on their
the
schedule.
Bears?
Not even that. I think the Bears beat them. I think is week 16 against the Falcons.
Oh my God.
And that's like 2.
That is such a Falcons thing to do.
Yeah.
Oh
that
my
is
God.
100%
I can't wait for that game.
Do.
I'm about to mark that game on my calendar.
I really honestly hope the Lions haven't won a game till then, and then that will make that game even more. There will be so much pressure on the Falcons to not be the only team that the Lions beat, and they're going to crumble because that's the Falcons.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, if I was the Lions,
you just lose.
You just lose.
But whether you win one game or lose or win none games, you're still going to be the top pick.
This is a moral victory situation.
Well, I mean, depends on what the other teams do, right?
But the Jets have already won twice.
Yeah. And then the Texans.
The Texans
Dolphins.
have won once.
Yeah,
Dolphins have won
Texans.
once.
Dolphins are going to beat the Texans, I think.
Yeah. Oh, they play each other, so one of them will get 2 wins.
Yeah.
There you go. Process of elimination.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man.
It's going to be Texans, Lions down to the wire, I feel
That's
like.
hilarious. But yeah, dude, there's not a lot of winnable games. Like, I mean, maybe the Vikings. I don't know. Shit, they play the Vikings. They still play the Bears. But yeah, other than that, the Falcons game, they have a tough schedule.
I mean, we've repeatedly said over and over in this podcast, this is the worst defense Detroit has ever had.
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to be shocked at all if they just go 0-16. They're just getting murdered.
0-17 this year.
Yeah, 0-17.
That's a new kind of high. I mean, low.
Yeah, that's gonna be the worst.
You lose one.
That's the worst team in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, dude. That's brutal for Detroit. Good. Hey, one bright spot for Detroit. They got a bye week next week.
Oh, nice. You can't
so
lose.
hang out a little bit, Dan Campbell. There's no reason to cry next week. You're just gonna be chilling.
Can't lose on a bye week.
Yeah, the Eagles are gonna be traveling to the Chargers. They are gonna be no, actually, I take that back. They're at home against the Chargers next week, so that'll be a tough test. But the Eagles are again 3-5 now, and all of a sudden they're also alive in the wild card for the NFC. So long season, man. All these shitty teams are all alive. I feel like a lot of these fan bases are probably torn because the playoff race is still open, but your team is within Eagles fans have to know that they're not a playoff team.
Right.
And so they're in their head, they're like, we want better draft picks. We have 3 picks, arguably in the top 10 this year. So what good does it do for them to be 8 wins or 9 wins, sneak in, and then lose the first round?
Yeah.
So tough. It's tough to be in that teeter-totter. Trust me, we know better than anyone. But the next game was probably, in my eyes, the best game on the board.
Which game?
Most exciting game. The Titans traveled to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Titans coming in hot. Colts coming in hot. Titans win this one 34-31. Come in as dogs. 1.5 point dogs, win outright. The over gets crushed at 51. Story, we already kind of covered it. Derrick Henry is hurt. Officially 6 to 10 weeks, but for fantasy purposes, he's out for season.
Yeah, he's not going to play. He shouldn't play.
Yeah, so that's really, really tough. But nonetheless, man, the Titans find a way to win. A.J. Brown is unreal.
He's back. He's back. He could arguably be considered top 3 wide receivers in the league.
100%.
If you have that size, you're getting 11 targets, catching 10 of them. And they go deep bombs. They do screen passes. They look for him in the end zone.
He's everywhere.
Like, this is their guy. And now without Derrick Henry, I'm a little worried that teams might be double teaming him now. There's a serious threat.
Yep.
We'll see. We'll see what Adrian Peterson does. We'll see what McNichols do. I don't think Derrick Henry not playing anymore is going to make that big of a difference. I personally don't think that. Because Derrick Henry, if you look at his yards per carry, it hasn't been very impressive. I think other running backs could fill that role in nicely. You're not going to get those deep 80-yard, 90-yard rushes with people like Adrian Peterson, at least not at this age.
Yeah.
But you can easily do what the other things Derrick Henry's been doing. So if they can still pound the rock with somebody else, like 28 times, it changes nothing for the wide receivers. But if they shy away from their bread and butter and they start doing like 15 times rushing the game, then that's going to severely affect the wide receivers because it's not going to be a positive outcome.
That's not their formula, right? That's not the blueprint that the Titans have. So, yeah, if now all of a sudden Tannehill has to be like the guy to win the game for you as opposed to the complement to the run-first, run-heavy Derrick Henry offense, that does spell trouble. But nonetheless, the Titans have been faced with adversity. To me, this game was interesting because the Titans have come off back-to-back like very, very impressive wins, right? All of a sudden, they're 5-2. And in my head, I'm thinking the Colts have built some momentum. Their defense is pretty good. They're at home. Carson Wentz has been having a really, really, really good year. The run game is great. The Titans can't stop anybody. Is this the ideal letdown spot for Tennessee? And despite Derrick Henry getting hurt, they still win.
Yeah.
And now they're 6-2.
Yeah, I mean, Tannehill, I don't really want to compliment Tannehill too much this game because he did almost lose this game by himself. He threw 2 picks.
Sacked 3 times.
Yeah, sacked a bunch of times. He threw some uncalled for picks. Those picks led to Michael Pittman touchdowns in the first quarter.
2 in like the first 7 minutes or something.
So yeah. So Tannehill needs to play better, and I'm just a little worried. Like, who's going to protect him back there if Derrick Henry's not going to be back there?
Yeah, AP's never been a really big run blocking running back, as big and built and strong as he is. But yeah, man. I mean, Tennessee. I guess on the other side, Colts.
Yeah, Colts had fantasy wise, Carson Wentz, 3 touchdowns, so that's good on his part. And Jonathan Taylor, obviously 16 carries, 70 yards, 1 touchdown. And then Michael Pittman, 10 receptions, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. So fantasy-wise,
15 targets.
Wild.
We talked last week. Michael Pittman is slowly solidifying himself as the number one, a unanimous number one. And I mean, again, this does nothing but reinforce exactly what we said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was a little wary because of the Titans' defense. But looks like Michael Pittman, there is really no reason to bench him anymore.
No, he's literally the guy on that team.
Yeah, 15 targets. I mean, I don't care who you are. 15 targets equals fantasy points.
Yeah. This was a wild game, right? Like in the fourth quarter, you had an interception from the Titans to score, and then Carson Wentz comes back and just he got lucky with the pass interference call, which is funny because Mike Vrabel had been telling his players that they were saying that like turn around.
Yeah.
Turn around when the ball gets thrown
Yeah.
that deep. And sure enough, they don't turn around.
Yep.
Another pass interference day for Carson Wentz and the Colts. And they're able to tie the game and go into overtime. So
Yeah, lot of wild plays. The Carson Wentz pick six, like 2 yards away.
Yeah.
One of the
Yeah.
worst throws I've ever
Dude,
seen.
that's his like third terrible throw
Yeah.
at his own goal line this year.
Yeah.
I don't understand what's going on with him. He's just screwing it up by himself.
Earlier this year, I had brought up the fact that to me, there's so many quarterbacks that are so good at escaping and then doing that. And Carson Wentz is capable of escaping, but then his decision making after that is always leading to bad things. Like that's why he's always atop the turnover list. He fumbles the ball a lot. Like he tries to do a lot because athletically, maybe physically, he's capable, but he's not Mahomes. He's not Russell Wilson.
He's not escaping though.
Yeah.
Like he's still in the pocket when he's doing these stupid things. Like at least get out of the area and then try to make a play there. But all those plays throughout, against the Rams, against this game, they were all inside the pocket. Like he's trying to do too much while there's like 4 defenders around him. Like no, that is not how you do that.
Yeah, and then the other wild play was when Tannehill threw that pick. The Colts guy in the middle of running it back, like broke his leg or something. He fell down, fumbled it.
Fumbled the ball.
The Titans get the ball. Very next play, A.J. Brown touchdown.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, huge swings, huge turn of events, but very, very exciting football game. The Titans are now 6-2. Big test next week. They're traveling to L.A. to take on the Rams. So
all right.
If there's a week to see if you're the real deal, it's probably next week.
They keep getting tested, but they keep overcoming them.
That's what I'm saying, man. Tennessee right now seems like a very, very fun and like underdog Cinderella bandwagon to want to jump on because they're just playing good football. They're winning games they're not supposed to win, and now
But it's
the biggest obstacle.
It's funny we call them Cinderella because in preseason they were
top,
the favorites.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think they're back on that wagon and they're doing all this without Julio. So
yeah,
God, this is
now they
gonna
have to
be
deal
scary.
with that Derrick Henry. So
Yeah.
we'll see if they overcome that.
Yeah, and the Colts have a good matchup next week. They're going to be playing the Jets, so maybe they'll get back on track. Next game was wild. The Bengals were at the New York Jets. The Cincinnati Bengals were the reason I lost a lot of money this weekend. They lose to the Jets 31-34 final. My lock of the week on the last podcast, did you guys remember it?
No.
The over in this game because I said the Bengals could score this on their own.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they got close, but what I didn't expect was the Jets to get even closer.
Yeah.
So the Jets cover the 10.5-point spread, win the game outright. The over 43 just gets shattered. The Bengals are up 31-20 in this game late. 31-20, 2-possession game.
Yeah.
And then it just completely unfolds.
Yep.
Yeah.
What the hell went wrong?
Man, part of it is the defense for the Cincinnati Bengals, right? They allowed 90 yards on that touchdown drive. So you let a backup quarterback come in or score have 400 passing yards.
405 yards passing.
5 passing yards. So, kudos to him for doing that, but not kudos to the Bengals for allowing that. That was ridiculous.
So the way the fourth quarter started, right? The Bengals scored another touchdown, and at that point it was 31-20, and I'm
you're like, game over.
Yeah, this game's over. There's no way they're coming back. Jets score a touchdown right away, right? 90 yard. That's a 90-yard drive. 31-26, and then Joe Burrow throws a pick on that pass to Jamar Chase.
Yep.
And then that just started a whole new revelation for the Jets because then the Jets scored a touchdown. Then the Bengals punted with 1:37 seconds left.
Yep.
And then the game ended. Like I don't know if I would have punted with a minute 37 seconds left.
I think it was 4th and 22 or something like that.
He ended up. It ended up being really far back, and it's funny you say that because you're right. Typically, people shouldn't punt in that situation. They actually punted and then had a chance to get the ball back.
Right.
But why did the game end on that horrendous call by the refs on the helmet to helmet?
Helmet to helmet. That's
where the guy came in literally positioned as a perfect tackle, like he was very, very low, like he was going to go in, and then the running back, or whoever the ball carrier was at that time, to shield himself went down, and he lowered his helmet so far down that it initiated contact with the defender, and then you got helmet to helmet, first down, game over.
Yeah, that was Tyler Johnson or Ty Johnson.
Ty Johnson, and it's like, first and foremost, the Bengals should never be in that situation against the Jets. That's inexcusable.
Right.
But that is horrific. I mean, that's like, there has to be legitimacy to helmet, being like, if the running back is literally coming down and putting his helmet where the defender is already initiating contact, like, how is that on the defender?
Right. It's probably one of those things that, like, that's not even in the rule book. I don't even know.
There's
like,
not.
Like, if if both defenders are head low, then that negates the flag. And I don't think that's there, so they can't even, based on the rules, you can't do anything about that. Either you call it or you don't, and if you call it, then it's a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate. Again, credit to the Jets. Mike White, 405 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. One, despite throwing 2 interceptions, which both were off of his receiver's hands, right? So none of the interceptions that this guy comes in here, again, with this putrid offense that Zach Wilson is making look like a college team right now because they're so bad, comes in here and leads this team to victory against a 5-2 Bengals team that's coming in riding hot, just destroying the Ravens last week. Like, man, this is the NFL and this is the beauty in it.
He technically went 39 for 45.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yeah, I don't care who you are. I don't care if he threw 5-yard passes or whatever you did. He's averaging 9 yards a throw. Again, in an offense that Zach Wilson literally made us feel like was incapable of doing anything.
Right. And look at Michael Carter. Had one of the best days of the rookie, like a running back has ever had this year.
Yep. And again, probably the best game Michael Carter's ever had in his career. 15 carries, 77 yards, and a touchdown. And boy, they love throwing him the ball. 14 targets. 9 catches, 95 yards, 14 targets.
Looking like Najee Harris out there.
He's a must start. I'm going to start him next week, and he's going to give me 0.7 because all of a sudden their backup, Jeff Smith, is going to come in and run it 46 times.
No, dude. If Mike White is starting, which I believe he is, I am no doubtably starting Michael Carter.
Oh, my God. Save my season, Michael Carter, man. I didn't know I was going to get to that. But nonetheless, credit to the Jets. They're going to be at the Colts next week. Colts are tough. They're probably looking to get
Colts
back on track.
Colts don't really allow many running backs to catch passes.
Yeah. So, just
okay, we'll see.
Just throw more dirt into my grave, my fantasy football grave. And the Bengals are going to be playing the Browns. So that's going to be a tough test. Bengals need to get back on track. Losing to the Jets, as much credit as we can give the Jets, the Bengals are a team. They're a team to beat now. They've beaten good teams. You can't lose to the Jets, but it makes sense, right? Think about the Bengals. This is their first year as finally a good team again. They're young, and they're on the road after a really, really impressive win.
Yeah.
Typical letdown spot. I mean, again, it's inexcusable. So they'll learn, but they're a young team, so you kind of see this happening from time to time.
Honestly, I mean, as surprised as I am that the Jets won, I'm also not as surprised as if a team like Miami would have beat the Buffalo Bills, because like we mentioned multiple times, Jets aren't 31st on defense, 31st on offense like Miami is.
Yeah.
They play pretty good defense.
Yep.
They were ranked 13th to 17th for a while.
Yeah.
That shows promise. That shows potential. And those are the kind of things that they use to beat a team like the Bengals versus a team like Miami, who's literally dead last in pretty much every category. There's no way in hell they would ever beat a team like the Bills.
No, and again, Jets, I mean, this is maybe the quietest week, even though he scored a touchdown for Jamar Chase in a while. 3 catches, 32 yards, had a touchdown, so salvaged fantasy-wise.
Right.
But when's the last time we saw a slow day from him? And then credit to Jamison Crowder. We talked about him last week. We've talked about him for weeks. 8 catches, 84 yards.
Yeah.
Slot guy doing slot guy things.
Slot guy doing slot guy things.
So Jets, again, big victory for them. They got to be feeling happy. The Rams traveled to Houston, another very lopsided game, and spread 7-1 now. The Rams are, after beating the Texans 38-22, cover the 14.5 point spread. The over 47.5 takes it hits. The Rams, obviously, the score is a lot closer than what the game was because all these points were garbage time for the Texans.
Yeah.
Rams just took care of business. It was, again, this is simple. It's way too good of a team playing against way too bad of a team on paper. Everything, offense, defense, special teams, every position you can look at, the Rams have the advantage, and now the Rams got better.
Yeah.
The Rams just traded for Von Miller.
Yep.
And
my God.
They see the potential in them being a Super Bowl contender, and they're solidifying that. That's what teams should do, right? Just because you're 6-1, 7-1, 6-2, and you're like, oh, okay, we got a pretty good team, we have a chance this year. They sit on that. They're like, okay, we can just continue to roll this out. But that to me shows that they want to win, even worse than the fact that they've already won 7 games, right? So being in 7-1, a lot of time you're sitting pretty. You're not going to make moves, but they got Von Miller, right? I don't care if he's old. Yeah. They have Aaron Donald. They have Jalen Ramsey. That defense is scary.
They literally traded away all of their draft picks probably ever.
They want to win. They want to win now.
It's probably because they're scarred after using their number 1 draft pick for Jared Goff.
Goffer.
And they were like,
we don't want to do that anymore.
We don't want to do that anymore.
The drafting stuff, other teams can do it.
Yeah.
We don't want to do
We're
that.
good. We'll just take really good players on our team and give all those draft picks away.
It's been working.
In theory, I don't know if it's the smartest decision all the time, but I feel like more teams should be trying that.
Yeah, you know what we do? We do the opposite.
We do the opposite.
We just get all the draft picks.
No, and not even just that. Rick Spielman's I'll get 17 7th and 6th round picks because you never know. Of those 17, maybe one will be good.
Somebody could do well.
Maybe.
It's kind of the Bill Belichick way to do it too. He also gets more draft picks and getting players. And
Yeah.
He doesn't like overpaying in positions that don't need to be overpaid.
Right.
But that's schemed, right? He's a genius. He's a one of a kind.
He knows what he's looking for.
Yeah,
He's not going to call back-to-back timeouts.
Oh yeah.
Motherfucker, man. It's never ending.
Real quick, I know we still have a lot to talk about in this game, but I just looked at the schedule for the Rams, and November 28th, you know who they play?
Who?
The Green Bay Packers.
All right.
That could be a potential NFC Championship game matchup.
Yeah, that's absolutely, because I mean the Texans pose no threat. I mean they were up were they up 38-0? Yeah, and the Texans scored their 22 points all in the fourth in garbage, which for fantasy purposes helped you.
Yes.
Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks, man, that's what I was hoping for. I didn't think that he would have a good game outside of the garbage time, and sure enough, he did. What was it? 1 touchdown,
83 yards, 6 catches,
right,
on 6 targets. Efficient.
What more can you ask for?
Yeah, honestly. No running game for Houston at all. They trade away Mark Ingram, and now Rex Burkhead all of a sudden has a sighting, did catch a touchdown, or got the touchdown, but
and Scotty Phillips.
The fuck is Scotty Phillips?
Exactly. Philip Lindsay and David Johnson were just an afterthought.
I mean, okay, level with me here. Houston knows they're bad, and they have to know that Philip Lindsay has already proven that he in the NFL and how long he's been in there, that he's better than all those other running backs, right? Yeah. David Johnson was once good, right? Don't get me wrong, but I think David Johnson's past that. Rex Burkhead has always just been like, if he's on the Patriots, then he's capable because of Brady, but that's it. And who the fuck is Scotty Phillips? So the fact that they gave Philip Lindsay 3 carries and then they had 2 guys that out-carried him, they got to just avidly be tanking because you're not putting your best running back on the field. Yeah. Like, I explain that to me.
I mean, this is a tough game to kind of go and make that assumption as well, just because you're playing the Rams, who's like just demolished them the first 3 quarters, and so you're going to pass the ball heavy, and you're not really going to utilize your running game as much. So I'll be interested to see next game how that works out. I picked up Philip Lindsay because I thought that he would also get the bulk load of carries. So I think that maybe next game that we see more of that.
Yeah, I don't know. On that Rams side,
who do they play next? Anybody got it?
Yeah, I got it right here. Houston?
Yeah.
Oh, big game at the Dolphins.
Oh, nice.
Fantasy galore. Start Gaskin, maybe. There's going to be a lot of guys.
Start Lindsay.
Start Gaskin.
Oh, man.
But the Rams fantasy-wise, doing Rams things, right? Stafford, 305 yards, 3 touchdowns. What's funny about this game is they destroyed Stafford. On paper, looks great. He had 11 incompletions, and a lot of his throws were so inaccurate. I'm like, these guys are running wide open. So Stafford has always been a guy that struggled with accuracy issues, and even with a great team and time, he still makes throws that you're like, dude, any other player would kill to have that much time. Why are you so inaccurate?
This is the benefit of having a perfect team around you. These are the teams I'm jealous of. Just looking at the quarterback and playing the way he plays, and he can play. He doesn't have to play mistake-free football.
Nope.
He can play with mistakes, and with a defense like this and solid running backs, solid wide receivers, you can afford to make bad plays.
Yeah, Darrell Henderson again, dominating. Only 14 carries, 90 yards, and a touchdown.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, say the percentage of championships in fantasy football this year, they're gonna have Darrell Henderson.
A lot of them, yeah.
A lot of them are going to have Darrell Henderson.
He was such a late draft pick, I feel like. And he's been, what is he RB right now? I mean, he's got to be like top 5.
Probably top 5, yeah. No, I'm going to guess 9.
Really? Okay. Well, nonetheless, his fantasy numbers have been very impressive. He caught one other pass, and he actually had a touchdown on catching as well. So his fantasy's been insane. Cooper Kupp, same story, different week, 7 catches, 115 yards, and a touchdown. Robert Woods, your boy Shovit, he did get 9 targets, so it's fun and it's encouraging to see the targets there.
Right.
Only caught 3, but caught a touchdown and ran a touchdown in. So fantasy-wise, you're still happy, still gets you the points, but all that's expected. The Texans suck, so you expect to come in there and take care of business. Big spread, Rams cover it. Did you guys find it?
Yeah, Darrell Henderson's 11th.
Damn.
But he hasn't played all games, right? He's been out a couple of games as well. So
has he?
Yeah, I mean, I took that into consideration because he didn't play against Tampa Bay because he was injured.
Uh-huh.
So it's one game, but the thing is, it's not very he has 15-point games, 14-point games, 16-point games, 7.9, and he has 2 games where he scored over 20.
Yeah.
So it's like he does.
It's consistent.
It's half point PPR too.
Right. Yep.
If it was regular point PPR, it would be a little bit lower.
But you got to be happy with that.
Yeah.
Especially where you draft him.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said what I said about a lot of championship teams are going to have him on their roster.
Yeah. So Rams take care of business. Again, they're going to be playing the Titans next week. That's going to be a fun matchup. And Houston and Dolphins. So that'll be fun because both teams might actually have a shot. So That'll be good. The Patriots were at the Chargers. The Chargers slowly heading into fake news or what? Because the Patriots win this one 27-24 now. Patriots are now 4-4. Chargers dropped to 4-3. Patriots cover the 4.5-point dog spread, and the over hits at 49.5 with 51 total points.
Chargers defense fucking sucks.
They're bad.
They're so bad. They did a pretty good job holding Mac Jones. He went 18 for 35, which is very unlike Mac Jones.
Yeah, he's usually incredibly
He's a high
accurate.
percentage guy,
Yeah.
but he was able to shred them like on those 20-yard passes, 15-yard passes. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Chargers defense, but if it doesn't change, as much firepower they have on offense, when that offense isn't clicking, they're not going to win any of those games.
Nope. And what's happening is, as somebody who has Herbert, so I watch every freaking snap of them offensively, they're never in a rhythm because their defense is so bad that they're just on the field all the time, right? So they're getting gashed on the run. I mean, another 141 yards allowed on the run for their defense. Their running defense is putrid. I mean, it might be worse than the Vikings, and like we've seen how bad that is. So it's awful. It's awful. Herbert's not on the field a lot. He's not converting third downs. And so it's like 3 and out, no rhythm whatsoever. And then they're just running, gashing them. Herbert, 2 interceptions. I mean, 18 of 35. Like, that's inexcusable.
Yeah. I think both quarterbacks were 18 of 35.
Yeah. Exact same stat line.
Yeah.
Almost in that.
This game with the Patriots, they only had 1 touchdown on offense. The others are field goals and then that interception.
Yep.
That was
Pick six?
Pick six,
Yeah.
right.
Adrian Phillips. Yeah.
Wait, didn't he? There was a Keenan Allen touchdown and a Austin Eckler run.
Oh, I'm
Or
talking
catch.
The Patriots, on the Patriots side.
Sorry.
on the Patriots side. So basically, the Chargers kind of just, I feel
Lost
like they
it
lost
for themselves,
this one,
yeah.
right? Only 33% efficiency on third down, and then the time of possession. Whenever, like you were saying, the run game, 35 minutes. So if you have no ability to kind of get the offense going, like how are you gonna get a rhythm?
Yeah, and they're built on throwing. Like Herbert averages 40 plus throws a game.
Yeah.
So
he leads the league in attempts.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have, it's tough. You have guys like Mike Williams who had shown so much potential. Now 2 catches, 19 yards, only 5 targets. Keenan Allen, 11 targets. And we talked about it last week. My concern, Bill Belichick has a history of just completely shutting down number 1 receivers, and it seemed like he did that. That's why Keenan Allen had his big game. Eckler does Eckler things, so he's never worried. Justin Jackson had that really long 75-yard run.
Yeah.
So if anybody just randomly decided to start him because Eckler was hurt, you got some serviceable fantasy points on 3
people
carries.
that started him and then fell asleep and didn't wake up in time, they benefited.
Yeah,
from that.
they still benefited somewhat there. So it's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you guys make of the Chargers here? Are they real? Are they fake?
Austin Eckler is fantastic fantasy-wise.
Yeah, he's a beast.
But I am a little concerned. I would be lying if I said I was if I were to go to the playoffs with Justin Herbert as my quarterback, I might want to start looking at its matchup situation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's 100% deployable situation anymore.
Yeah, you saw this offense in beginning of the season. It's a tight formation. They've got so many opportunities to kind of get open and be able to get the third down efficiency and things like that. But you're not seeing that. You're not seeing that rhythm. So definitely a concern. But I think that they'll figure it out. They've got some good schemes and things like that. So I think they'll be all right.
They get a favorable match. They're at Philly this week, so Philly's defense hasn't been crazy good. So I don't know. That could be a pretty high scoring game. Hurts versus Herbert, just touchdowns galore.
Honestly, I don't have complaints of the Los Angeles Chargers offense. It's down at times, but it's just the fact that their defense is so bad.
Yep.
Like I mentioned, the Vikings are one of those teams. It's the complete opposite of the Rams, right? We've seen Matthew Stafford throw some pretty bad passes, some pretty bad picks too, right? People like Herbert, Kirk Cousins don't have the luxury of making those bad plays. You make one bad play, it could cost you the game. Versus teams like, Packers, teams like the Rams, they can make bad plays all day long and still be involved in the game because of their defense.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the thing. Herbert, he's doing great, but if this defense cannot just remotely stop people on the run game, it's just going to cost them big time.
Yeah, they just, when you have an offense so good, you need to get your offense as many possessions in the game as possible, right? And not being on the field, not stopping the run, and defense just being 0 is not going to get that done. So the Patriots are going to be at the Panthers next week, so a weird matchup there, Battle of the Peas. But we have the Jaguars. The Jaguars were at the Seahawks. Another game where I feel like a lot of people were saying the Jags are going to come in here and win this game.
Yeah.
They're going to come in here and win this game. What did they do? They didn't do that. They lost 31-7. 31-7. Seattle's now 3-5. Again, alive and well in the wild card spot with Russell Wilson looming to get back in here and get them running hot. The Jags are now 1-6. Seattle covers 3.5 point spread. The under comes in. God, dude, the Jags.
Okay, check this out. So this is why the Jags lost this game. Okay,
Yep.
They had an 11-play drive that ended in a punt. They had a 5-play drive that ended with 8 yards. They had a 9-play drive where they gained only 30 yards and ended in a punt. So the thing is, like, they are the masters of getting first downs and just punting.
Yeah.
Like they're executing first downs. They're getting them, but they're going nowhere.
They're basically what's happening is their yards per play is extremely low. And then you look at Trevor Lawrence here, 32 of 54 for 238. He's averaging 4.4 yards a catch.
Ugh.
And that's putrid. That's putrid. And then you have your running game, actually formidable, like 4.3 yards a carry. We talked about James Robinson. He went down. He got hurt.
Yeah.
We don't know the extent. I mean, is he expected to be good this week?
He's expected to be good next week.
Okay.
But this week I don't think he'll play.
Okay. So then we talked about Carlos Hyde. We'll obviously jump more into that. But, I mean, I don't know. Like, the Jags, they're bad. Like, their scheme, like, the way they run their offense is so ugly. I'm like, God, what are you guys doing? The one bright spot, I mean, before James Robinson got hurt, the one guy where you're like, maybe this guy can be the X factor, Laviska Shenault. Why does he only have 4 targets? Why is Jamal Agnew getting 12 targets? Why is Dan Arnold getting 10 targets? Like, how are they expecting to win?
I think they're using these players wrong. Like, Laviska Shenault is not really a receiver. He's like Deebo Samuels.
Yeah.
But without the deep threat stuff. Like, he needs a lot of reverses. He needs a lot of, like, use him as a Cordero Patterson.
Yeah,
That's
exactly
what you should be doing. Not running, like, 20-yard post routes because he's not built for that.
Like, dude, it's so dumb. Like, there's so many teams that we complain. Use your best players. Like, draw plays for your best players.
Right. That's why the Falcons are winning the games they're winning.
Yeah.
Because they keep giving the ball to their best player.
Yes, exactly. They lose because they suck, but the games they win, it's because they do that. And so when you're bad, why are you trying to stay bad by giving it to people that really aren't going to fucking make a difference?
You think 12 targets to Agnew and 10 targets to Arnold are going to win you games?
That's never a recipe to win a game. That sounds like some Viking shit right there.
Yeah. That's all I was thinking of.
CJ Ham. I have nightmares about CJ Ham. God.
Yeah. But kudos to the Seahawks, right? Because last game we saw DK Metcalf getting that touchdown, and then he was just non-existent.
Right.
Like, he wasn't there. And it's almost like, okay, well, hey, maybe we should try throwing the ball. Like, maybe we should trust
We got
Geno
2 great receivers. Maybe we'll give them the ball.
Yeah. And look what happens when they do get the ball, right? 12 receptions, 142 yards.
No.
Tyler Lockett.
Tyler Lockett had the 12 receptions.
Right, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was getting there. Tyler Lockett, 12 receptions, 142 yards, 13 targets. And then DK Metcalf, efficient, 6 receptions.
This is
43.
classic DK Metcalf. The stat that always sticks out to my head is 6 catches, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, that is what when I drafted him in my rookie year, the following year, that was expected. You know, that was just always expected. So it's nice to see him back getting the they need to cater to his play style. Like, I don't think DK Metcalf is a 13 target guy because of the way he plays football. He's good at certain things, and he's really good at those things. So you should exploit those things, and rather than trying to make him into a Keenan Allen type of player, right? So DK Metcalf is just efficient as hell when you're in the red zone. So what do? They just force-fed DK Metcalf in the red zone, because what's going to happen? A 5'10" cornerback's going to catch this, or a 6'4" DK Metcalf's going to catch this? And I like my chances going to Metcalf every chance I can get. And they extended the field with Lockett. You know, they extended the field Lockett, gave the big plays to DK Metcalf, and that's what Russell Wilson did his whole time. So now they incorporated that play into this style with Geno, and things worked out.
Hey, Jaguars, you want to find a recipe to win? Geno Smith is a backup quarterback. He had 20 completions. 18 of them went to his 2 fucking best players. Weird. I wonder what happens when you give the football to your best fucking players. So, I mean, yeah, credit to the Seahawks. People wrote him off. People wrote off Geno. They're right back in the thick of things. Russell Wilson's going to be coming back here soon. I want DK Metcalf to get more than 6 targets. So that's just me being greedy, because it's just sad when you see somebody so physically gifted. Not like, I'm over here thinking, like, why is this guy not getting the ball all the time? Like, he's mossing people. He's faster than people. He's stronger than people. So, like, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, at some point, if you're losing, force the ball to somebody who is a physical specimen, right? If you have to force the ball anywhere, you're going to force it to DK Metcalf.
Yeah, especially when you're losing.
Yeah.
Especially when you're losing.
And it's just, it's incredibly frustrating. But nonetheless, he gets the 2 touchdowns, so it's encouraging, especially when I didn't have a lot of hope with Geno Smith at quarterback. But the Seahawks, again, Geno Smith did exactly what you expect a backup quarterback who knows he has weapons to do. Give the ball to your best players, let them win you the football game, and that's what they did. Defense stepped up, played well enough. I mean, I don't give their defense a ton of credit because the Jaguars' offense is just so bad. I mean, Lawrence was only sacked once. Like, it's not he had a ton of pressure. He threw a pick. He threw the ball 54 times.
Yeah, they drove the ball. Like I said, they had 10-plus play drives, and it just ended in such the dumbest ways possible.
Yeah, and they're not going to win next week because they're playing the Bills. So the Jags are just in a shitty situation. Yeah. It sucks to watch Trevor Lawrence play because the guy from a college phenom to, like, the number one pick and, like, sucking horribly.
It shows you. It shows you. Look at the Zach Wilsons. Look at the Travis. The Lawrence's. Look how much different the NFL is than college.
It's way different. You're not just going to step in here and succeed. You have to be very, very rare to do that, and it's tough. Now it doesn't get any easier for them. The Seahawks get a much needed bye week, another week for Russell Wilson to rest. I mean, his off the IR is after the bye week, so he could be back. They're 3-5.
In his head, he's starting next week.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's going to be on the field next week during their bye, running his 60-minute route
with no football.
Yeah, with no football, no players, for 60 minutes.
Yeah, I'm a little worried. He might be a little like overestimating this whole thing because like if you look at the guy, he literally looks like just he's playing out there.
Yeah.
Like the way his mannerisms, his pregame warm-ups, everything looks like he's ready to fucking play. He was even out there doing the coin toss. I'm like, you should save your like finger energy, bro. Like he was, you know what I mean? Like he's like Baker Mayfield, but like actually,
but he actually performs.
But he's actually good.
Yeah, he's exactly. Yeah. It's a great comparison. Yes.
So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I wish we were a team. Like I wish my favorite teams were down 3-5, like 3 wins and 5 losses, and still have a shot because like somebody's coming. So yeah, I counted the Seahawks out. But yeah, I mean they're still on the lower end of the possibilities, but the fact that Russell Wilson's coming back, is a possibility.
Yep. So again, a good time for them to get a bye. They get a win. They get to rest. Russell Wilson has a chance to get back. Moving into the Washington football team, we're traveling to. I'm sorry. What am I drawing a blank here? Mile High to take on the Denver Broncos. The Broncos win this. They're 17-10 final. They covered the 3-point spread. The under 44.5 hits. Denver's all of a sudden back at 500. Washington is now 2-6. Not a ton of scoring here. I mean, not really a fun football game to watch. It just always seems like it's a struggle with Washington. Like, what the fuck is going on with Antonio Gibson? How does Jared Patterson now out-carry Antonio Gibson?
Yeah, it's time to just,
like they're just going to pick up anybody,
right,
and then just for the sake of like being annoying, have them outrush Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, I mean it's got to be the shin injury and a lot of other.
Or he sucks. Or it's time to like start thinking that he might actually suck.
He's just not it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean you can't always have a guy that's it. Like not every team has that guy, and there's always some people you got to sacrifice. And I've made my decision. I made my decision week 3. I saw him drop an easy touchdown pass, and you're a receiver, and just the same conversation every week, and I'm sick and tired of it. I tried trading him. Nobody wanted him, and like I even gave like so much more than what they deserved for Antonio Gibson, and still nobody wanted him. And you know what? They're right.
Yeah, one man's trash is not another man's trash.
No, he's unstartable. He's unstartable.
Yeah,
he carries 34 yards, and he had 3 catches for 20 yards. But like, dude, come on.
When CMC comes back and I can't start Chuba anymore, I'm still going to start Chuba over Antonio Gibson at least 1 week, just because this is like nobody's going to win it NFC championship fantasy football championship with Antonio Gibson. Yeah. Like you got to make changes or you got to bench him. It's just not going to happen.
It's such an awkward position because you can't trade him.
Yeah.
And
there's no value.
Do you just release
trades
him
all-time
at
low?
This point?
You cannot release him
because
technically he's still the number 1 running back on their depth chart, right? And we know how valuable starting running backs are. At any point, they could be like, hey, we're fucking dumb. Let's give him the ball a lot of times, let's just bench him.
Yeah, they're not dumb.
They're dumb because either if they know he sucks, don't give him any carries. Right. At this point, Gibson, you're done. Sorry, you suck. Yeah. Patterson time or like McKissick time. No, Gibson, you're just adequate enough to get like enough touches to not make you anything because running backs need to get in the rhythm of the game as well. We just talked about this. Nobody's going to get in the rhythm with 8 carries.
Maybe they're ahead of the game and Gibson's just already a change of pace back. Maybe they've already
Yeah,
established
that's true.
You know,
You're starting for us, but you're only going to play like seldom
dude.
snaps.
This is like Miles Sanders. If he would have been healthy last week, he would have had a good game. The following week, he would have had a good game. So as of now, as of week 9, Antonio Gibson is my dud of the season so far.
Yeah. I mean, I can't argue that.
Yeah. Agreed. Or Miles Gaskin. But he wasn't.
Yeah,
really
less expectation,
Right.
so it's tough to be the
much more less.
Yeah. Heineke, again, same story, right? 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 5 sacks. Like, just it's not going to work.
No.
McKissick was their leading receiver, 8 for 83. McLaurin sucks, 3 for 23 on 7 targets. He doesn't suck. I'm sorry. His situation sucks. So it's tough for him to be fantasy viable at this point. On the Broncos side, Teddy, efficient, game managing style, 213 for a touchdown. Melvin Gordon gets their 1 rushing touchdown on 47 yards. Split right, carries 10-9 between him and Javonte.
Javonte got injured a little bit there, but I thought it was going to be a little bit more serious, but it wasn't. But yeah, Gordon got in the end zone twice. Once receiving.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he had that receiving touchdown as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so great fantasy game for him. There's rumors swirling that he could have been a possible trade candidate for the Titans, but I don't think it will be.
No, it's too late. I mean.
Trade deadline's over today. Yeah. So there were rumors there, and then the receiving core. I mean, we wrote off Tim Patrick. I mean, obviously none of these guys at this point with this volume are fantasy startable, especially this week. But Patrick led them with 64 yards.
It's funny that like 3 receptions is like a leader.
Yeah.
Right.
And 3 receptions on the Rams was like 5th.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, three receptions on 3 targets. Sutton 2 catches, only 4 targets. Judy 4 catches, 4 targets. So it's like nobody. And then you have like 4 other guys that have 3 targets, 4 targets, 4 targets, and that's Teddy Bridgewater in a nutshell, right?
Yeah.
Unless you have like a unanimous number 1 that's like clear cut better than everybody else. Which I mean, maybe Sutton could be, but I just don't think. I don't think between him and Judy and Patrick, I don't think the talent gap is big enough to be like, I need to feed Sutton the ball 15 times.
I think you can take Patrick out of that.
I don't know.
I know he got
I
3
kinda,
receptions for 64 yards, but it's still 3 receptions and 3 targets, right? I think it's a competition between Sutton and Judy. Sutton, we know he can throw deep to Sutton and get those, and Judy should be able to get like bulk load of that target.
So this is what I think. I think if there's a 2 touchdown receiver here, it's Sutton. If there's a 10 reception guy here, it's Judy. Right? I think that's how the spread is going to be. And Patrick could be in between that. He could get 1 catch and have 7 receptions.
It's a hit or miss.
Yeah. This is a very much a hit or miss. But let me tell you certain scenarios. Like if you have Monday Night Football and you have, let's say, Sutton and Judy on your team and you need 4 points to win, who do you start?
I mean, I'd probably go with the guy who's got volume, right? If Judy's going to get bulk share of targets, you probably start Judy.
Exactly. So if you need 4 points to win, you go Judy. If you need 14 points to win, you hope for Hail Marys.
Yeah, or touchdowns to Sutton. Yeah. I don't know. I like, you guys are absolutely right. Tim Patrick, to me, like, seems underrated. Like, I feel like if he was on another team that actually threw the ball more, like,
of course,
he's got size, he can catch. Like, I don't know.
He's fast.
And he's exactly. So
really fast.
I don't know. It's weird that he's the number 3. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there. None of them are actually startable right now if this is what we're going to see. It's too spread out.
And it's the Washington defense.
Yeah, and it's a defense that's horrid. And they only had 17 points.
Who do they play next week?
Denver's get a tough schedule. They're at the Cowboys.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Well, I mean, the Cowboys are exploitable on defense. They're just a little... Yeah, we'll see.
And Washington gets a bye. So probably a much-needed bye now, 2-6. Really not a lot nothing to look forward to and nothing that's going well right now for them either.
Hey, maybe Gibson needs his time off to...
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he's...
feel better.
Yeah,
I think he should take a sabbatical. Just go hang out with Ridley, figure out your fucking problems, and come back.
Honestly, bro. Because it's not working on the field right now. Like, it's just not working on the field. But the next game on the board was on paper a marquee matchup. The Buccaneers were at the Saints this week. Tampa Bay actually loses. The Saints beat them 36-27. Over 50 gets smashed. The Saints were 4.5-point dogs. They went outright, so moneyline dogs hit on the road. Tampa's now 6-2. The Saints are 5-2. This was probably it's tough to knock because everything else was good, but this was one of Brady's, shittier games. Like, the interceptions that he threw were clearly his fault. where, you don't usually say, you can't say that a lot of times. But I don't know. I mean, obviously the story on the other side is Winston got hurt. Simeon came in, and Simeon played well enough.
Right. Did what he needed to do to be able to win. But, the key thing is the Saints defense to be able to force those 2 interceptions on Tom Brady.
He also lost a fumble.
Mm-hmm. So takeaways are huge, right? And also their run defense was pretty good too. No one had more than 30 carries as far as Giovanni Bernard. Fournette goes
30 yards.
30 yards.
Yeah.
Sorry, not 30 carries. 30 yards. So well done on the Saints team. We when we talked about this team or this matchup in the on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
This was a team that the Saints could have come in and beat the Bucs, and they surely did, right? The spread was only 4.5 points,
Mm-hmm.
and so just took care of business and did what they needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, these were 2 teams that played each other last year, and
Right.
the Saints just dominated the Bucs, and everyone was writing the Bucs off, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl. So, not Brady's best game. I mean, still had 375 yards and 4 touchdowns. So for fantasy wise, who cares about the 2 picks? But the Saints, the reason the Saints won, they played defense when it mattered, and they protected the football. No turnovers, right? You have Jameis Winston and Trevor Siemian, and you don't throw an interception against the Bucs. I know their secondary's been just, shitty. But the one good thing for the Bucs was their run defense, right? 152 yards on the ground for the Saints.
Yeah.
So not a good recipe. Not a good recipe at all. They didn't have to throw the ball much. Again, Simeon just spread the ball out. I mean, Deontay Harris, Traquan Smith, even Garrett Griffin, Marquez Callaway, all those guys had 3 catches. So the ball was spread on that side, and Kamara did his thing running the ball, 61 yards, had a touchdown. They got Mark Ingram back. I mean, he didn't do a lot, but I don't know.
Enough to keep Kamara healthy.
Exactly. Enough to spell Kamara, keep him fresh. And so, I don't know. They take care of business, and the Saints are weird. Like they have a quarterback situation where the quarterback can obviously lose you the game because he's erratic. Now, I mean, Winston's out for season now.
Mm-hmm.
Taysom Hill could be back, so I don't know how they're going to play the Taysom Hill. I don't think Taysom Hill is good enough to be a quarterback the entire game.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to have to sign somebody, pick up somebody, if it's going to be Simeon and Hill just kind of going back and forth. But their defense is good enough to win them games, and now they're 5-2.
Yeah. What was crazy to me when this game began was Jameis Winston was playing pretty freaking good.
Mm-hmm.
Those third downs that he ran for, because he's not known for being a running quarterback.
Nope.
And he ran a lot. He ran 4 times, and those are big
40 yards.
runs.
And he had a 20-yard run.
Yeah, those are big runs.
Mm-hmm.
And he just happened to get hurt because I was really interested to see where that was going to go. And as soon as he got hurt, I was like, oh, Simeon's coming in, former Viking, former Bronco, just the reject from team to team. And he held his own.
Mm-hmm.
He held his own. He played mistake-free football. He didn't have the best passing percentage, but he did enough. He did enough to not make mistakes late in the game, which you can't say the same for Brady.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. On football, it's so hard to be good every week. You know what I mean?
Consistency.
Consistencies, right? There's 11 guys on the field, 22 guys, and penalties, right? They have 11 penalties versus the 2 penalties, and there's so many variables that anything can happen any given Sunday.
Yeah.
So
Team game, man.
Right.
It's tough.
The Saints now joined the 2005 to 2009 Broncos as the only teams in NFL history to win 3 straight regular season games against Tom Brady.
Damn.
So they've won 3 straight now.
Yeah, they got a formula for the GOAT. I mean, that nobody else can say that.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
they didn't have a formula in the playoffs, but
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to never have formulas in the playoffs besides 1 year.
Yeah, exactly. They only won 1 Super Bowl with Drew Brees, anyways.
Right.
And they always lose to the Vikings in the playoffs. So
Yeah.
if that's any kind of indicator.
Unless they cheat. And then they win.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
whatever.
But the Bucs again, Brady, good fantasy day. No running game. Godwin had a good week, 8 catches, 140 yards, and a touchdown. Tyler Johnson was next on the list with 5 for 65. Cyril Grayson caught that 50-yard touchdown where he was wide the fuck open, nobody was within 25 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mike Evans only had 2 catches on 48 yards, but he had that 41-yard touchdown where he beat Marshawn Lattimore. So I know they have a little bit of rivalry going on, so that was good for him. Bernard caught the other touchdown catch, but yeah, Saints win an impressive game. Again, especially when your quarterback goes down and you have a guy like Trevor Siemian come in. At that point, I kind of felt like the game was wrapped up with Brady, and this was a situation that the Bucs feel comfortable being in, right? It was 27-29. They were down 2, getting the ball back with your GOAT with a minute 40 left. They had 1 timeout. They just needed a field goal, and Brady threw the pick 6. And so it's tough.
It happens.
Yeah, you're the GOAT.
It happens.
You've had 21 years of goating. You deserve some freedom and flexibility to fuck around every once in a while. So Nonetheless, it happens. Bucs head into a bye. They're 6-2. They're still comfortable. The Saints are traveling, or actually they're going to be at home, stay at home against the Falcons next week. So a good chance for the Saints to go 6-2 as well. That takes us to Sunday night football, a game that I don't ever want to talk about, but unfortunately we have a football podcast and we have to talk about it. The Dallas Cowboys were in Minnesota taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Cowboys win this 20-16 final. The line ended up like as the Vikings were favored by 4, so the Cowboys covered outright and won as moneyline dogs. Under 55 hits. It was the biggest under on the board this week, and the score wasn't even close to hitting that. The Vikings are now 3-4. The Cowboys are now 6-1. Who wants to start us off? Because there's too much for me to want to talk about.
Yeah, man. For me, the biggest takeaway was that it just seemed like Kirk Cousins wasn't getting the same kind of protection that Cooper Rush was getting, right? And so Cooper Rush with Zeke being able to block and having time against y'all's zone defense, you're going to find people that are open, and they were able to find open receivers and get touchdowns, because I don't think you guys were playing man-to-man most of the game.
We normally don't.
Yeah, it's much zone defense, and so you guys, they were just picking part, especially in that second half more than the first quarter.
Yep.
Started strong. The offense started strong, and you thought that would maybe kind of continue on throughout the
game.
Yeah,
you would think.
No,
you would think, but this is the formula that's been going on all year, and I don't even think it's. I don't even want to blame the offensive line. Honestly, there's a clear-cut reason we lost here, and it's because of these stupid play calls. It's just dumb, dude. It's just dumb. You have two of the best, probably the best wide receiver duo in football, and you end up making third down calls designed for your fullback, your backup tight end, your tight end, and basically everybody not named Justin Jefferson. And not just to say that. I mean, Justin Jefferson really blundered on that slowing down on the outside and then diving forward and not catching it. That could have kept us up 14-0. Kirk Cousins wasn't making the best throws either. Like, the same reasons we were commending him for winning in that overtime game, that he went a little deep instead of that wide open Thielen. He didn't do that this game. He went for the check down instead of taking that extra step. Collectively, this was just a poor team performance. We were like 1 for 11 on third downs at one point. Oh. It's just it wasn't the game. It wasn't the game for us. And everything was set in stone for us to win this game with Dak being out, everything. But the biggest problem here is taking your foot off the gas pedal. And we have mentioned this over and over. The Vikings fan base has mentioned this over and over. Adam Thielen has mentioned this over and over. Kirk Cousins has mentioned this over and over. And Dalvin Cook has mentioned this over and over. But it's not changing. So there's only one answer left here, and that is to have a coaching change so we can start a new formula. Either have a new quarterback that can adjust to this type of play where you need wheels to just run around and then you again have like a Jalen Hurts situation, and that's not going to win you Super Bowls either. So there's a clear-cut thing to do here, and it's just to start from scratch with a whole new offensive coordinator or a head coach and just a different scheme, because this scheme is not going to win you games.
Yeah, all of that, 100%. It's just sad. It's just fucking sad. We're at home. We're 3-3. The Cowboys are 5-1. You find out that their backup quarterback, who's never started an NFL game, is going to be playing. And here's the problem with the Minnesota Vikings, right? I was listening to a lot of Vikings radio over the last 4 weeks, and we see this every week, and there's a reason. Every time we start out, our first drives are always fucking fantastic, and we're like, whoa, that's crazy. Our offense looks insane. They literally script out how they want the first drive to go. It's pre-scripted. Mm-hmm. And so if you have a script, they can execute beautifully, right? Because they have a script. Well, you don't have a script for every single possession, because that's called adjusting. The defense adjusts to what they see on the first drive. And the minute the defense adjusts, or the minute the other team does something that you're like, oh, whoa, what is this? We have no game plan for it whatsoever. We don't know how to adjust. We run the same formula expecting it to work when the other team has already adjusted. And it's piss poor, bro. It's piss poor. It starts with Mike Zimmer, the conservative-ass nature. No coach who's been in the league for 8 fucking years as a head coach should call 2 timeouts back to cost your team 5 yards. That's inexplicable.
In crucial times.
Yeah.
And that was the reason Ezekiel Elliott got that first down.
Yep. So Yeah, absolutely. So it was 3rd and 16. He calls back-to-back timeouts, and his logic was, oh, I knew what play they were going to run. They were lined up the same way that they were going to run that one big play where Cedric Wilson had that big touchdown.
Yeah.
So he's like, I knew what they were going to run, so I wanted to scheme for it. So I called timeout. That was my mistake. But then he also said, he was like, but you know the refs are typically not supposed to grant you that when you don't have it anyway. So I'm like, dude, fuck off. Like, you're not blaming the refs for your ineptitude. And then he also said, and then I had heard somebody on the sideline say, call timeout. So I just called timeout. I'm like, dude, you're the head coach, man. You're the head coach.
Imagine Bill Belichick saying those words.
Oh my God. Own up to it. Own up to your shittiness. Stop thinking that you have a defense that's back in 2017. That's like top 5 in every category. That's not what you have anymore. Your best strength is your offense. And I don't even think it's Clint Kubiak. It's just the fact that Clint Kubiak's a fucking child, right? His dad was a coach, so he's literally a child, and now he's an offensive coordinator to a team where, again, the head coach is this old school fucking old guy that has this 80s mentality that thinks that he can be defense, run first guy. So he really, really limits what the offense can call. And that hinders Kubiak, that hinders Cousins, that hinders our running backs, that hinders our receivers, that hinders every part about our offense that's not scripted as the first play.
Right.
It's got to be Mike Zimmer.
Get
him out of here.
It does. Someone's got to take the blame here, and it's got to be Mike Zimmer. Another thing is when all your players voice an opinion that's all saying the same thing, that tells you that whatever they're doing, the players don't like to do it, right? And they keep doing it. Anyways, we could probably talk about this all day long, but we have to give the props where it's due. Cooper Rush, 24 for 40. Started off a little scratchy, started off a little weird, but he ended up figuring out where the holes were on defense at the end when it mattered. Got 2 touchdowns, did throw a pick, 325 yards. That was very impressive from somebody that I expected to just fall apart because I thought the Vikings defense was back to where they needed to be.
Yeah, I mean, all the receivers, great numbers, right? Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Cedric Wilson. And so, the Vikings defensive, the cornerbacks, not looking so good, right? Breland looking pretty bad, allowing a lot of catches. So that's not good there.
The stats that made us look good was when Patrick Peterson was still there.
Right.
Just covering one side of the field, letting these idiots take care of the other side of the field. As NFL players, they were able to do that. But now that Hall of Famer is gone, they're having to adjust with last year's rookie, this year's worst cornerback, and there's only so much Eric Kendricks and Barr and all those other guys can cover.
Yeah, I can't even fault the defense because they'd given up 13 points to the Cowboys before the last drive where they scored a touchdown, right? And we've talked all year about the strength of this Vikings being the offense. We saw it on the first drive where they scored with literally ease, like no problems whatsoever.
Right.
You can't put up 16 points against the Cowboys defense that literally ranks last in yards per play attempt allowed, right? So teams convert the longest plays in yards against your defense, and we averaged 5.3 yards a throw. And we had plenty of situations where Adam Thielen's running open. Our intermediate to long-term routes were there, but it was just check down after check down after check down. If I ever have to see CJ Ham catch 3 passes for 3 yards ever, who's a fucking fullback, and then a guy who literally I'd never even heard of, Luke Stalker, comes in and catches a pass. He's our 3rd-string tight end, backup fullback. Like, in no world are you targeting those guys. Luke Stalker and CJ Ham combined to target the same amount of targets as Justin Jefferson, and that just never makes sense to me.
It doesn't make sense.
It's putrid. I have literally no hope for the Vikings. They're at the Ravens next week now, so we talked about the gauntlet of a schedule. We get a gift when the starting quarterback is out and we can't win.
That was it. This game was the season. If we were to win this game, we're very much in it. If we don't win, we don't even deserve to go any further. Honestly.
Like I don't want to be the 7th seed and win 9 games and lose the first round, bro, because then you got the 18th pick and it's not good enough to be top 10.
Same boat again.
Same shit, different gear. That's the story of being a Vikings fan. Nonetheless, the Cowboys are 6-1. They get the job done. Dak should be back. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how good this Cowboys team really is because they're going to be playing the Broncos next week. That could be another win, and all of a sudden the Cowboys are 7-1. So credit to them coming there, taking care of business with a backup quarterback. Kellen Moore, that offensive coordinator, is phenomenal. He's probably going to get a head coaching job somewhere.
Hopefully with us.
Yeah, I fucking will take him in a heartbeat. So nonetheless, now we jumped into Monday Night Football last night. The New York Giants were at the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs were 10-point favorites here, but they do only win by 3, 20-17 final. Giants covered the 9 or 10-point spread. The under 52.5 hits. The Chiefs are now 4-4. Again, getting by, doing enough to stay relevant, even with all of the things that are going wrong for them. They're still right in the thick of it, and it just takes one click, and they're back to being scary.
Yeah.
The Giants are now 2-6. I mean, what did we really expect from them?
That was such an ugly game.
Yeah.
So ugly. Not a fun game to watch.
If I had the choice, I would just give both teams L's that game.
Yes.
Like, they just played so bad.
Yeah.
And it looks like the Mahomes balls bouncing off of a receiver thing's not going
It's
away.
never ending, I guess.
You know, poor guy just keeps getting things going against him. He did fumble, which was that one's on him.
Yeah.
So they're still making mistakes. Or sorry, Kelsey fumbled.
Kelsey fumbled.
That's definitely on him. This was probably the worst game Kelsey's ever played.
Dude.
So yeah, there's still that negative energy surrounding the Chiefs. They haven't escaped that yet because they had to win this game outright in order to just say, like, okay, they're back on track. Because this game, just because they won doesn't mean they're back on track. They could have very well lost this game as well. Daniel Jones played okay, 22 for 32, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns, threw a pick. Devontae Booker was a nice little fill-in for fantasy football purposes.
Anybody that started him was probably happy.
Yeah, 15 carries, 60 yards. He even caught 5 catches for 65 yards. So, but the receiver situation is still whack. Tony comes in, but he's hurt again. He had like a huge gash on his arm, and I think they just glued it back together. That's literally what they did, is like just glued up the gash, and then he went to the what's it called? The medical,
locker room?
Yeah, he went to the locker room, but he ran back outside because he wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do much, but he came back out. So it's still very much a disaster as far as starting who, because Devontae Booker, how much longer are you going to be able to start him? Looks like Saquon's coming back soon, if not this week, the next. Daniel Jones, as much as people enjoy watching him get, the points that he does get, I still don't feel comfortable starting him as a quarterback.
It's tough. He's not showing enough consistency. I feel like there's too many like weird non-comfortable plays that he tries to make. I mean, his 2 touchdown passes were to Evan Ingram and Kyle Rudolph.
Right.
I mean, it's just there's nothing. I feel like there's no one guy on the receiving core or anywhere that's standing out. Like we thought it was gonna be Tony, but again, this Tony situation. So unless Saquon comes back, which we've seen him back. I mean, he played a couple games and like he had a good game here and there, but
he's not gonna change anything here.
It's gonna be tough. This Giants team is just in a really, really shitty situation.
Yeah. I almost think the Giants should have won this game, but then the Kansas City Chiefs defense, which has been pretty bad all of this year, kind of came up clutch in the fourth quarter. So they were able to come out on top, but the Giants, I think, lost this one more than the Kansas City Chiefs won it. I mean, with all of the fumbles, all the takeaways that they had a very solid chance of coming in and winning this game.
Exactly.
And they weren't able to capitalize at the end of the day.
A couple of fantasy things to note. Obviously, Frank Gore sighting all of a sudden. Just kidding. It was actually Derek Gore. Derek Gore came out of nowhere. Had 11 carries, 48 yards, and a touchdown. Darrell Williams, their starting running back, at 13 for 49, but I feel like a lot of those carries were mostly in the second half. He did catch 6 for 61. Tyreek had a good game, 12 catches, 94 yards, 18 targets.
Yeah, that's the part that's surprising. That's the part. It looks like the trust factor's back. I was a little worried because he had those single-digit games back in the couple of weeks ago. But 18 targets is no joke. You don't see Mecole Hardman being intrusive towards those targets anymore. I thought that was legit going to happen. Marcus Robinson, 1 target. Pringle, 2 targets. So they're very comfortable going back to Tyreek.
Yeah, Kelsey only 4 for 27, again his worst game, 7 targets. So yeah, the Chiefs are now 4-4. They got a tough test against Green Bay next week. So at some point, we can't just wait for the Chiefs to bounce back. The season's slowly creeping into like important territory where they need to start racking up wins in this AFC. The Giants are going to take on the Raiders next week. So, I mean, again, not a lot of hope for the Giants. You just hope in that NFC that we talked about is wide open. They can string some games and be competitive. But that's the slate of games, guys. A lot of action, a lot of unpacking. Let's end the note on a couple of segments here. First things first, fantasy stud and dud. Who was everybody's stud this week? Who was everybody's dud? I can start us off. My fantasy stud was none other than Michael Carter. Michael Carter had 27.7 fantasy points for the Jets. Second overall in fantasy, only to Mike White, I believe, who was also on his team. And first in terms of running backs, right? So you weren't expecting Michael Carter to be your number 1 running back this week. I didn't even start him because I'm an idiot. So he was just riding on my bench with 15 carries for 77 yards and a touchdown. touchdown, 9 catches on 14 targets for 95 yards. So good for tops amongst running backs. That's my stud. My dud is the running back I did start in place of Michael Carter, Kenneth motherfucking Gainwell. Kenneth Gainwell, 13 carries, 27 yards, all of that in garbage time and none in the red zone, where he lost red zone rushing touchdowns to Boston Scott, who had 2, Josh Howard, who had 2, Jordan Howard, who had 2. Jalen Hurts didn't even have to have a rushing touchdown because clearly, they got the job done. And the Eagles scored 44 points. They ran it 46 times for 236 yards. And Kenneth Gainwell, the guy who was the direct backup all year, after Miles Sanders gets hurt, you're like, oh my God, this Red Sea path is parting for Gainwell to emerge. And he had 0.7 fantasy points up until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and most of those touchdowns are on the red zone, right? So you're like, okay, and then the red zone, Gainwell should get the
Boston
ball.
Scott's 5'5". Why is he getting red zone touchdown carries?
Yeah, this got to be disappointing for
The
Gainwell
Eagles,
holders.
the Eagles just fucking piss me off,
Dude,
man. They're not good. They do a bunch of dumb shit.
If I hadn't snuck a win this week, I would be just as pissed off as you because those are my touchdowns.
Yeah.
Those are still
Right.
those are my Jalen Hurts
Why
rushing
are you
touchdowns.
not trusting Jalen Hurts with the ball, but you're trusting Boston Scott and Jordan Howard? Man, that pisses me
That's
off.
fine. That's fine because that did kind of threw things off. The Lions were just thrown off completely.
Right.
They didn't know what to expect, and I guess that was the formula to win. Whatever. Don't do that again. Eagles are pissing me off.
God. So Kenneth Gainwell is my dud. Shove it. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, my stud is going to be... Actually, I'm going to start with my dud.
I like that.
My dud is none other than my second pick of fantasy football. It was... or my first round pick. Yep. Dalvin Cook. Okay, so...
Womp womp.
Yeah, 18 carries for 78 yards, 0 touchdowns. One of those things where... Maybe it's Zimmer and the offense. I don't know what it is, but just not happy to see Dalvin Cook only with 78 yards rushing. So that was a bummer for me. My stud is going to be Justin Fields because he had 19 throws and for 175 yards, 1 touchdown. No, just kidding. It's because of the 10 carries, 103 yards, and 1 touchdown on the running game for a quarterback. When you have a guy that can run like that, I'm sure you know.
If you can sustain that, you're automatically a starting fantasy quarterback.
Exactly. 25.2 points for Justin Fields. That's solid.
Yeah, we're all waiting for this evolved form of Justin Fields to show up.
Yeah.
I wish they would. I wish the 49ers would deviate away from Garoppolo because what we could see
Trey Lance.
The Trey Lance.
He could be the greatest fantasy quarterback of all time.
Trey Lance could be a league winner.
Yeah.
Because those matchups for I think a week 12, week 13 are just it's very easy for the 49ers. So if they can start Trey Lance, and you might want to pick him up just to win your week. Win your league.
You could use my McNichols treatment. I had picked up McNichols 6 out of the last 8 weeks on Saturdays just in case, and then I didn't do that this week, and don't get him.
The rest is history.
But anyways,
give us your shot.
Okay, so I'll start with my stud, AJ Brown. We've mentioned here before. You should have gotten out and gotten him when he was injured, when he had that first game back, wasn't doing too well. He could potentially be top 2 wide receivers in this league, the way they're force feeding him. And now without Henry, they might have to force feed him. I don't know if that'll benefit him or hurt him, but with the type of receiver he is, it has to.
More is better. Volume's going to be better.
More is better.
Yeah.
155 yards. Just
casual.
Just casual. A lot of fantasy points.
He looks
there.
like a man amongst boys.
He does. Honestly, he looks like what I want DK Metcalf to actually be.
Thank you. I literally looked at him and I was like, "This is what DK Metcalf should be doing." I thought the exact same.
You guys saw that picture of DK Metcalf and AJ Brown with their shirts off? That was the first time we ever even knew who DK Metcalf was.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other guy was AJ Brown.
Yeah.
So just feed him. Julio's gonna be back. It's gonna take a little bit of stress away. This guy's gonna be just a start without having to.
He's gonna be a stud all season, basically.
And then my dud is actually Justin Jefferson. It wasn't the best game for the Vikings overall, but that one guy that I had some faith in that would save us in certain situations was Justin Jefferson, and just witnessing him, doing some stupid things out there.
Yeah.
It made me emotional enough to call him my dud because there were some significant plays that were made that could have changed the outcome of this game, and he was the benefactor of that going wrong.
Yeah.
So, Justin Jefferson, don't do that again, and I'm pretty sure you won't. So you get the dud of this week, and hopefully you don't have to be one of those for the rest of the season.
Yeah, so no, definitely dud worthy there. Let's jump and end the note on important stuff. Waivers. We've run through a lot of injuries. I think we've kind of hinted on players, but Shovit, give us the rundown on who you have on our waivers list.
Yeah. So for the waivers, I've got Adrian Peterson with Derrick Henry being out.
No brainer.
Yeah, running back for the Titans, and then also you just talked about him to show Jeremy McNichols. Also, I think you guys are more inclined to McNichols than Peterson right now.
He's the third down back, right? I mean, he's at least the third down back, which is what we know. I mean, AP just got signed, so how much of the offense does he know? You have to factor all that into it.
The problem is waiver number 1 or waiver number 2 are going to get these guys, right?
I feel like both of them get picked up.
Yeah, at least in the top 3.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of these is guaranteed? The touches Adrian Peterson gets is guaranteed, right?
Yep.
He'll get at least 15 carries minimum.
He'll get red zone carries.
And the upside is he could get the same amount of carries as Derrick Henry. And I've heard reports that he's in the best shape of his life. So, red zone carries plus 20 plus carries a game. I don't even care if McNichols comes in third down at that point.
Yep.
At that point. So, anyways, I don't have any waiver priorities that will give me either of these players. So I don't mind revealing this shit on the internet. So, if you have one of those waiver periods, I would easily go for Adrian Peterson more than McNichols. As much as I like McNichols, the guaranteed rushing, and McNichols has never been a runner.
Yep.
They've never utilized him as a runner.
Nope.
So it's hard to say that, I see McNichols being like the Kareem Hunt to Adrian Peterson's Chubb.
Yeah.
Nice. The other guy that's also available is Carlos Hyde. With James Robinson being out, he should be able to be like the clear running back 1 there.
Yep.
So go out and grab him. Derek Gore scored a touchdown, and it was like split carries with Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
So maybe you might want to
monitor.
Him have him on your bench.
The key is to have as many running backs as you can, right?
Right.
So if you have like waiver number 10, waiver number 9, even if you don't pick up, you're going to be like waiver number 8 or 7 next week, and that's not much better than 10. So if you have one of those waiver picks, you could go for Gore. I honestly, it's just a name to mention because he got a touchdown.
Yep.
But I'm not going after Gore.
Sure.
I'm not going after Gore. It's just they're already splitting with Darryl. CEH should be coming back in like a week or 2.
I just found it weird how he was getting a lot of carries early. Like I didn't know if Williams got hurt. Like what was going on?
I thought it was Tyreek Hill because I couldn't see the 4.
Yeah.
And I was like, he got
he's
a little
small.
thick.
He has like 0.
Yeah, I was like, you got a little thick over there in the last week. But yeah,
the thing going from Darrell Williams, he did get the passing.
He was fantasy relevant because of the catches.
Right. So keeping in the running back, like all the names of running backs, we'll Boston Scott's another guy. Boston Scott, obviously you saw kind of vultured Gainwell. So
it just doesn't seem like it seems like Gainwell is the McNichols. Like he's not going to be a first running back. He's just third down.
Yeah, I made fun of Boston Scott last week, called him a little chubby. But he's going to be the Adrian Peterson type. He's going to be the guy that's going to get a majority of the carries at this point. But yeah, Howard's back in the picture. He was one of the best running backs after McCoy the Eagles have had. So it looks like there's some sort of like emotional attachment for them to bring him back. And he did pretty well. I mean, he didn't have good yards per carry, but he scored 2 touchdowns. So yeah, I'm staying away from the Chiefs running backs. I'm staying away from the Eagles running backs. Not the Chiefs running backs. Darrell Williams doesn't count in this, but I meant like the Gore situation. I don't see myself starting him. I don't see myself starting Boston Scott or Howard. But then again, people don't have the luxury of not being able to do that at this point with all these injuries happening left and right. Out of those players, Boston Scott is probably the highest on the waivers.
Yeah. Going to receivers, we've got Tajay Sharp, and this is because Calvin Ridley's out. And he got the bolster of targets, not much, but he was a leader in targets for the Falcons this week. So if I were to make a claim for a receiver, he's the guy I would do. Next, I've been talking about him all season, and finally got a touchdown. Patrick Freiermuth finally gets a touchdown, so definitely want to go and grab him.
And he's good too.
He's good.
Like I'm not sure if he can score a touchdown every week,
right?
But the skill level is there.
Yeah, fantasy wise, it's tough, right? Because their offense already structured around the run.
Yeah,
limited throws to go around. Clearly, Deontay just gets the first look a lot. So, yeah, if he's sustaining touchdowns in the red zone, if you looked him to the red zone, you mentioned he's sure-handed. He's going to catch the ball.
Right.
Just got to get it to him.
So, if Logan Thomas is available, I would get Logan Thomas before Freiermuth. Logan Thomas is going to come off an IR, should be ready for the next week. Actually, I don't remember their schedule for the Washington football team. I don't think they have a bye, right?
They do have a bye.
They have a bye, so the week
you
after
can wait.
that,
you can wait a week unless somebody picks him up, but whatever.
Right. So Logan Thomas for not the next week, but the week after. And then so those are all the tight ends. Quarterback streamers for this week is going to be Tua against Houston.
Favorable matchup.
right? And next is Trevor Siemian against the Falcons.
Yeah, which we still don't know that Trevor Siemian situation. If Taysom Hill comes back, like what percentage of plays is Taysom Hill going to run?
Probably a lot.
Yeah.
If he comes back, you know, because he did start at quarterback for like a good chunk of the year, right?
With the Broncos?
No. I'm talking about
Taysom Hill.
I'm talking about Taysom Hill.
Oh, right.
I don't remember the exact number of games he played, but there was a little stretch. There was a small little stretch where they used Taysom Hill quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Simeon, you know, I feel like if we were to like investigate further into which all quarterbacks are in the top 10, because you know you're in either a 10-man league or a 12-man league, right? Typically, I could probably name you 12 quarterbacks I would start over Simeon. But the thing is, it is against the Falcons, right? It is against the Falcons, and Kamara likes to get catches from his quarterback, and Kamara could go for 80-yard touchdown at any point. So yeah, I like that. I like that. Tua for sure. I feel like Tua is going to be like a household waiver wire pickup for the rest of the season, just because they're going to be losing pretty much every game, and he's not that bad of a quarterback where you can just ignore him. So yeah, Tua definitely start. Simeon, let's get more information on the Taysom Hill situation, and then once Taysom Hill's ruled out, I don't feel too bad starting Simeon this week.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Yeah, so that wraps up episode 16. Again, unwrapping week 8, wild ride. Vikings fans, I feel for you. I wish there was better news, but it's tough.
What else is new, man?
Yeah.
There's no expectations. You shouldn't be sad. You shouldn't be upset. It is what it is.
Yeah, at this point, it's a moot point, right? So appreciate you guys hanging out. I know, again, we continue to run long, but there's just so much important information that needs to be put out there. Thank you guys for all the support. We're the Only Playbook. We'll see you on Friday.